And we're live. Live in the post JT. Oh my gosh, that's a little too much zoomed up. Is that not too big? I think we're going to have to unzoominate that. Unzoominate. There we go. There we go. That's uber mucho better, don't you think? I hope so. Don't know so. Could be so. All right. We have Carnivore Soldier is new. All right. All right, all right. And Amy Beatty, that's nice. All righty, all righty. How are we? Everybody good today? We're going to wait for some folks to maybe jump in. Just did the live with JT, and now we're going to do a little after party action. Here's about 8:38, and here we are. While we're waiting for some folks to jump in, let's go ahead and see if we can doobity 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 doop. First, let's go ahead and look. No, get rid of that. All right, we'll go from here. Now I want to go over here. All right. We've done, we've got the livery. Can we end up doing the rivalry? Rivalry. All right. Hey, you look at that. I'm live. I can see it. It's right there. It's on the screen. Trust me. Or don't. That's okay. Let's take a quick gander at weather. Hello, and welcome to the really big shoe. Let's go ahead here and let's go ahead down here. Go with the present. Share the screen. Let's share the screen. Let's share the screen. And we are sharing the screen, the National Weather Service screen. Looks pretty good for the lower 48. Yes, it does. Let's go ahead and load up a satellite shot. Can we do that? Sure, we can. How do you want to do it? Let's go here, satellite here, goes CONUS here, and let's go with the band 9 here, animation loops. Hello there, Carnivore Soldier. How are you? Hello, Allison. Good to see you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I was a little nervous, as you probably could tell. I don't necessarily understand why, but that is the way it is. You get a little nervous and then you do silly things. That hour went by so fast. I cannot believe how fast that went by. That was incredibly fast. Like, I can't even believe how fast that was. And so I'm doing a little bit of after work here. There we go. Yeah, all right. So, how are you all doing now that we're out of that madness? Thank you. Take the top off my Jeep today. Hey, there you go. Cooler weather. Yeah, well, around Austin, that'd be great. And you can see Austin's right down here. Got a little bit of a boundary layer moving in there. We'll see what happens. But got some blow off with some thunderstorms up in North Texas. Austin's a beautiful. Hello, Lisa's blessed life. Thank you so much. You're way too kind. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Remember, if anybody wants to come in, let me know. Here's what I will do. There is an open invite. So if anybody wants to jump in here with me, by all means, just hit the link. I'll see you pop up in the waiting room, and I'll bring you in. All right? Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I would have loved to get to talk about more things, but that hour goes by really quick. It goes by super duper quick. Yes, it does. So again, if someone wants to jump in, by all means, throw yourself up on the screen. I'll put it on. We'll take the weather off, and we can talk about anything that scratches your fancy, so to speak, because that's what I think we need to do more of. I would love to get a veteran stream going where we can sit in here and we can discuss various things, multitude of things that are important to veterans' families. I mean, let us not forget that our families are tremendously important in what we do. So by all means, hopefully this is working well. I'm gonna go ahead and close that out for now. We'll just go to here. There. Now I don't have anything. You sent me an email. Sweet. Let me go look in the email box. That's not how you look at email, Scotty boy. Let me pull that over here and let me go back to here. I got it. All right. Well, I'll take a look at it. My yes is on the table. You got it. My yes is on the table. Let me balance that against some my schedule. All right. Let me see what it has to say here. And obviously, I mean, and other systems interested too. All right, let's go ahead. Let's bring it up. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bring some of these up. Spinning up my battle station to join. All right, sweet, good. Oh, yeah, I finished serving at church. I still have my hairnet on. Oops. What do you mean a hairnet? Okay, I need a beard net. Um, I found that my skill set at church wasn't serving the food, but cleaning up afterwards. So that's what I do as my service project. My what do you call that? My spiritual gift is service, and in service, I schlep. I am a professional schlepper. That's right. I schlep. The Lord built me to be a strong fella, and that's what I will do. I will be a strong fella and do what the strong fella is asked to do. Sometimes it's just taking out trash. Sometimes it was taking a homeless person to a hotel. It's funny, our pastor, he knows who the big guys are, and he knows who the military members are, and you can't be too safe in a church. So I get called on a lot to um, assist people, and I do it in the most appropriate manner possible with a lot of love and a lot of caution. Uh, Trust but verify. You can still be a loving person with that attitude, right? At least I hope so, because if we can't, I'm in deep, as Batman and Robin would say, I'd be in deep doo doo if I can't do that. But I tend to make it. It tends to work. So we do a free weekly. Let me get to it. Dinner for community. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Ours, we used to do one on Wednesday nights for Wednesday night church in the Baptist church, but after the big international shindig, um, we that got kiboshed, and our church is growing. Here in northern Alabama, in the Huntsville area, we are growing like nobody's business, and in that growth, we end up with a lot of families, and we're running out of room, and it is expensive to add on to a church. Oh my! Not only is it expensive, but I mean, if you can get the materials, because we just don't have them, so we're going to have to be very creative. I would say we are probably getting 6 to 8 new families coming each week, and 2 or 3 are staying. Our middle school youth group, middle school, high school group is 125 students. It was 175 on the first night. And we have 120, 125 show up every Wednesday night. And as you can tell, with that type of a group for a country church, that's pretty dynamic for us. Now, I know the big churches out there, and that's probably not even a drop in the bucket. But we are blessed to have growth, and with that growth, we are having growing pains, and that all works out well. But again, I want to let you know, I did put up the link. If you want to join me here, if you want to just get in and discuss topics of the day, we'll be happy to do it. Whatever the topic of the day is for you, we could talk about the weather. We could talk about a topic near and dear to my heart, which would be lobbying politicians. I guess that's going to be a new thing for me. I think it's important. I know in the 24-hour live stream that just happened this past weekend, that a lot of people were talking about, hey, we need to be advocates. We need to get into an advocate role. Well, there's definitely a more effective way to do that than many are aware of. And it doesn't necessarily involve your lots of your money. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Here he is. It's Larry. Let me bring you up full up. You got good audio?
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. You have mastered the Yeti there, Chief.
Lima Charlie.
Uh,
I was a signal officer, so
I remember that.
that's my stuff.
Well, I was just SWO.
Oh yeah, yeah, nice. I actually did. Okay, so I started my career in the Navy in
All right.
1984, and I was on fast
Same
attack
here.
submarines. Oh, did you in the Navy? Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, you were 84 when you joined, though.
Right.
Okay, so I started in 84, and I was waiting for my school to start. And you know how it is in the military. When you're waiting for school, they put you on some weird duties, right? You just
Yeah.
go to a duty. So I was the weather guy in Great Lakes, Great Lakes, Illinois. And
I know it is.
what would happen is I'd get your report, and I'd set I'd look at the chart and set the uniform of the day based on your report, whether it was gloves or no gloves or pea coat or cold weather jacket, whatever.
Right.
So I had to do that. As I was up, I'm an early morning guy anyway, so it was easy for me. I'd get up at like 3 and go, hang out in the weather station in this room we had where we'd set the uniform there, and then I'd send that off to the base commandant or whatever, I don't know, it was admiral. I mean, I forget what it was, but anyway, went out to that office and they'd set they do reveille and then set the uniform of the day. So
yeah, it's amazing how weather touches so many facets of military operations.
Absolutely.
And some people love them, some people hate them, but it's like you gotta have them, right? And so and then we were data pigs, as you well know. The weather folks, they want big pipes because everybody wants real time motion graphics in the cockpit, right? And so you're talking about, and I can't remember all the systems, but I remember some systems they were bringing online in the late 80s and early 90s. And they would ask us, and what they would do, I can't remember the name of it. What it would do is all the different sections would send their data into a central repository, and that repository would copy it and move it out to all the elements, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're just doing a sit rep, you got whatever you're doing, some simple. It's all it is ones and zeros. It's just data, right? No, I'm not graphics. It's pretty simple. You're talking maybe a kilobyte, maybe 2 kilobytes or something, right? But here comes a satellite picture with super high def resolution, and the first computers we got had 300 megabyte hard drives.
I remember how big those were. Huge.
Yeah. People would say, "Who was the idiot that sized something so big? You'll never use it." They had to sector it off into a G drive, stuff like that. Yeah. Because who's the idiot? Because we were using peach text back then, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's just so funny to see that evolution. And then the weather guys would hit send, and Fifth Corps would be crushed. There's no data because the weather guys just crushed it with their big pig data pipes.
That's funny. Yeah, so it's interesting. So, you talked about veterans chat, and that's what my mission Carnivore is. It's putting a focus on veteran mental health and physical health, both through diet and natural, getting people off the cocktail of VA drugs, which unfortunately a lot of veterans I served with it, and I'm still friends with, are on those or, fell to them from, the 22 a day. And I firmly believe that the standard American diet has a big part to play in the number of suicides, and not just military and first responders, which I believe, but overall in America. I mean, we're in a state of mental health despair, and a lot of it has to do with that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I don't know how much of my interview with JT you caught, but I worked for 4 years as a data quality manager for an Army medical facility. So I had purview to every bit of data in the facility.
That's awesome.
And my job was to troubleshoot. So I got a master's degree in organizational performance, and they hired me to do business process. I was a knowledge engineer for US Stratcom before that. So taking disparate data, making models. No, I'm not a modeler. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm a guy who can look at lots of data points and tell you a future story, right?
Right.
And one of the things that really bothered me is the cost of healthcare delivery as it relates to after the fact conditions, i.e., when a soldier, sailor, airman is at the 10-year point of their career, 9-year point, if they need any sort of waiver, right? If they have any kind of PT waiver, uniform waiver, I don't care what it is, I believe they should be given a 3-hour glucose challenge test to find out what the state of their insulin condition is. Because if you could do that at year 10, right, you could nip it in the bud about this dietary condition that they could do differently, and maybe it wouldn't be so expensive than when we're hacking off body parts later on in the VA.
Well, the problem is you could do that if the government dietary guidelines were changed, because if you go into the chow hall, it's changed from the 80s. It changed to where they were like, this is what you have to have, and this is the healthy food, and they were pushing carbs everywhere and seed oils. So,
well, I don't deny that, but one of the things that we probably would find common ground on is the military has always been a place for experimentation, right? So you have a captive audience. You can tell them what they are going to do. The question is, do we have the fortitude in our senior leadership to, and I know the answer, that's a rhetorical thing, but eventually when we get the ear of people who say, like they came to me and they said, hey, we're small. I was at Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, and Redstone is a small, we don't even have 1,100 active duty people on the arsenal, but they have over 50 general officers, right? The more general officers here, the only place that have more general officers than here is West Point, and at times, of course, the Pentagon. Otherwise, we have the most number of Army generals.
Wow.
So the challenge is, they would ask me about how do we get more bang for our buck? How can I hire more people? And I was able to look at the data, and I was able to give them, then you're going to have to do the following things. This is what the data says. It's nothing more. It's just data. It's agnostic to policy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if we could do that, to sit there and say, you can pay billions at this point in time, or you can pay hundreds of thousands here and do test pilots. Like, a couple places in the Air Force, they had chiropractors. And I was at a place that had a chiropractor. They were going, hey, does it make sense to have a chiropractor doing adjustments for some of the stuff that we need to get done, right? There are methodology for doing it, but it's about getting the right people to care about it. As you well know, if you get a 4-star that's on board, you have tremendous opportunity to impact policy.
Depending on what his career is going to be afterwards, though, he may or may not choose to do that. Because
absolutely,
he's looking for a job, right? He's looking for a board seat or whatever, right? And then the congressmen are the same. That's the problem. We have too much money intertwined in these contracts to all these companies, which that's changed too. So when you and I joined, the chow halls are run by enlisted people and officers, and it's not a bunch of contractors. I go to Fort Hood now, or whatever they call it now, and they don't even have military guys at the gate. I can't even fathom that when I was in. Well, when I retired at 2019, so I can. But I mean, when I came in, I was standing guard with a 45. That's what it was. So it's just so different.
I think that what's going to happen is this is going to be just like every other time. That scene from A Few Good Men, right? Where break the glass in case of emergency type thing, right?
Right.
We were in the same boat in 1939 to 1940.
Yeah,
right?
We were end of World War I, going to World War II. Yeah.
And we're going to be in it again. And what's going to happen is the unfortunate fact. It's a fact. It's a historical fact. Something horrible is going to happen. It's going to rally a national movement, and a lot of people are going to suffer horribly. That's it. That's unavoidable fact.
Yep.
What do we do?
I can tell you though, the quality of troops we were getting too has been going down steadily since 2000. I came back in 2004 when the war broke out.
Right.
And I saw a steady decline. I mean, more and more fat kids, more and more non-running, I mean, kids are just coming in with problems. I mean, that didn't happen when I went to basic. I'm sure the same with you. Yeah. We didn't have people with problems. I mean, it was more like that movie. What's the Kubrick movie?
I know, Stripes?
Full Metal Jacket. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. The Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick, yeah.
Yeah. Full Metal Jacket. That the one fat guy, right, that got picked on. That's what it was like. It wasn't like now where there's 20 fat guys in a platoon or something. It's like, wow.
So again, this is an evolutionary cycle. It's going to repeat itself. And you're going to find people like all those movies with the Robert Duvalls, where an old guy sits there and says, "Well, if you want to really know how to do it, you're going to have to break some eggs to make that omelet."
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And but how do I say it? In my family, in my wife's family, her uncle was a wonderful man. I only knew him as an older American, right?
Mm-hmm.
But his grandson wrote a screenplay based on his life and what I knew of him from what was shared with me. He was on, I know what a bandolier is.
I do.
Yeah. He was one of the original guys in World War II running up a bandolier to blow up blockades, and came in on the beach. And he was special forces before he was special forces because he was a good old boy, a country boy, right? And he was about the business end of business, right?
Yeah.
And he came home, severe PTSD, crawled in a bottle. That's how you did it. When they deglamorized alcohol in 1984, that's when suicides started going up, because they took away the one semi-legal, albeit poor, mechanism. We used to have a community you would go to in a VFW.
Self-medicate.
Be around people to share your stories. You could get numb. They took it away.
Right.
But then they put us in a 20-year war with people who absolutely had no idea what Geneva was or a convention.
Yeah.
Did you see Sean Baker's video today?
About the being a doctor in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And seeing I did. I was in a medical unit in the Army when I first started my career for 4 years. So I was an NBC guy, Seaburn. So I did, mop suits and all that stuff, and said all that. So, but I was in a medical unit, so I had docs and medics. We were at ambulance companies and all that. So yep.
Watch that.
It was a horrible video, but I mean, the people don't realize.
Yeah, people don't realize it. And you remember, of course, then about a MASH as a television show, and all the other things we saw, and how that's the reality. The reality of it is when you're faced with it. But I don't think. I think that. Well, let me slow down. What we see getting enlisted into the service, and the condition we see, is a fairly representative swath of how our society is. And I try not to say, well, we were better than you, right? Because we're all victims of our times. The kids today didn't have a choice when they were born, right? But what I do try to say is there's going to be a lot of heartache when the correction comes.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of heartache. People don't understand how much they can take. They have no idea how much pain you can absorb just to live.
Yeah. Well, and so I think the whole focus I have is okay. So here's the deal. You've been around. You've probably encountered suicides on post when you were in. Okay. So they have the protocol. You go through you all have the meeting. You just stop at work. Everyone talks about. They said the video to show the signs you're looking
Stand
for.
down, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone says, check your buddies, and so it's like it's a CYA action. I mean, it's nothing we can really do to stop it, right? So I've always felt like it was a CYA action, and we don't have any tools to proactively stop this. We didn't. We had nothing. It was like keep an eye out, and then the worst part was when it did happen. You're like, did I miss his call? Did he try to call me, or did I miss a sign when he said this to me? Did that mean that? You start playing stuff in your head, and you start second guessing and worrying, and like, thinking that you were complicit somehow. And but now with this, after I don't know about your mental health, but my mental health has drastically, radically improved. And I feel like I have a tool to proactively say, hey, if you're a veteran, and I had a video today where I said this too. So it's interesting you brought it up. Even if you know a veteran or a first responder who seems totally fine, send them this way. They need to see this, because those are the ones you're worried about. These guys look totally fine. You don't have no idea, Yep. They're not walking around, looking at their gun or whatever. They're totally normal until they're not. And then when they snap, it's instant, and it's unfortunate.
Well, I think in everything I've seen in an after action type report, right?
Right.
They're able to draw the picture of what went wrong.
Connect the dots, for sure.
Right. They can connect those dots. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes in connecting the dots. So when I was in the early 80s, and you were in too, our esprit de corps was much greater.
Yes.
By the fact, so for the Air Force, right? We went away from common dorms. Every airman got their own live-in, Holiday Inn type room. They didn't share a bedroom. They didn't share a bathroom, right?
Wow.
And all of that fell apart in DS1 because they weren't used to being in a room with anybody when they changed their clothes. They weren't used to the things that happen. Like I was telling a story about being in a tent fire, and how have you been in a tent with a 1941 potbelly stove burning diesel fuel?
I have not.
Okay.
Not that. No.
Well, they'd run that thing up so hot that the carburetor would break, and then it would crack because of heat, and then leak fuel, and then it would go up, and you were literally living inside of a mantle, right? And when that happened to me, I kept hearing this noise, and then I saw a flame and a lot of smoke, and I rolled out of my rack on the ground out under the tent, and I had my gas mask on and cleared before I stood up, right? And I got up out of the thing, and I could see all the people running around inside the tent because you could see right through the tent. I have a hard time wearing my CPAP mask because of that, because I wake up, with that image.
Yeah.
But the idea being is we all had much closer relationships with everybody in our unit. Even if you weren't I was a weather guy attached to an aviation brigade with the 1st Armored Division, right? I knew my generator mechanics. I knew all the different people and the different things they did. And we hung out together. So you could kind of tell when a guy was having a bad moment. And we all hung out together all the time. Matter of fact, we couldn't get apart.
Right.
But we went to this super insular, hyper individualistic society where people can go away from you and get lost away from you. And you have no ability to know that little Johnny or little Susie are freaking out when they get home, and they're looking at razor blades, pills, alcohol, and guns.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten too isolated. We just don't want to be around people.
Well, especially now after, the disease that came out that we won't mention, that people got locked in their houses, and it's gotten worse. And then also when veterans leave the service, you lose that esprit de corps because you don't have your connections that you hang out with daily. And then, well, for me, I self-isolated a little bit. I kind of, you start just being on your own. I have my dog, I have my service dog. I don't really need to hang out with my buddies. And I stopped, and I know a lot of veterans do this. They just kind of stop socializing. And that's what I want. So this is what I want to, with this Mission Carnivore series, is just interviews with veterans and first responders who have gone on the carnivore diet and share their experience, and if they think it's important, and if they think other veterans might find value in it. That's all it is. Just but I think it, I haven't seen that on YouTube yet, and I thought a focus like that would be really good, that we could get. So I've actually started a podcast too. I'm making them I do a video, and then I crank it out and publish it on Apple and as a podcast.
Okay,
too.
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's gonna, like I told some other people, I said, hey, if one person's saved, it's mission accomplished. If one person, that's all I care about. If
Absolutely, and I think the Texas has some really cool things. So I was a state senator in Nebraska, and when you do
wow.
that stuff during the off season of the political season, when you're in session, there are a couple national groups that get together, and
Yeah.
I was involved in it. And one of the groups, and maybe you should look into it, because Texas is kind of leading the charge. And what it does, one of them called NCSL, the National National Consortium of State Legislatures, something like that.
Mhm.
And there's another one. I'll have to remember. It's been a decade. But what they do, the Texas has a Veterans Court. Are you
I didn't
familiar with
know
the
that.
Veterans Court? Are you
No,
familiar with the Veterans Court?
I'm not.
Okay, this is really cool. And for those of you who are watching, for Laura and B Dog and Susan and everybody, I apologize, and Allison, I apologize for we're getting kind of wonky here. But what they do in some states is more often than not, for a veteran, they'll be driving very fast down a highway, like 120, 130, right? And a cop will come up behind them, get a high-speed pursuit, right? The police officers, everybody involved is like on maximum adrenaline and cortisol, right?
Yeah, they're
That
angry.
situation devolves very quickly, right? So what they do is they find out if this person is a veteran, and they actually can, by looking on your driver's license and stuff, they will actually make the approach different to a veteran in that situation. Understanding deadly force is directed directly at you, weapon or no weapon, there's deadly force involved.
Right.
And so they make this approach, and then when they get this veteran under under control, let's use that word for lack of better words, and they go to court, the veteran can choose to go, depending on all the victims. So it's not just a traffic, but all the parties have to say, yes, we'll go to this veterans court. And there's this old full bird colonel, JAG officer.
Nice.
And when this veteran walks before him, he locks their heels. Hey, ho! Yep. Pucker factor 12, right?
Yeah.
And that veteran will pucker up and sit there, and the veteran agrees to it. And they go through almost like a UCMJ light but in the civil court system.
Yeah.
And they have a different way of addressing veterans in certain circumstances when all parties agree. It's called a veterans court. You might want to look into that.
I'll look into it. I've never been arrested, but I will look into it. Hopefully I never am. I mean,
right, but you might find a pool of people who would respond to what you're saying.
I have a group of vets that I hang out with regularly that I will share this with, because you never know, you never know.
So, but the veterans court thing. So when I went down, I went to try to, what we do in these confabs of politicians is we would find policy that has worked in some states. We'd be able to figure out, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I'd go to these things and find, how did you get all the constituencies to work? What were the pitfalls? How do I avoid it? And then bring it to my state. Like let's say off-road four-wheeling, right? In Arizona, they got the Sportsman and the Sierra Club to work together.
Huh.
Because they had a common understanding. And that's what I think is missing. And I think what I really love about the military is when your mission is so imperative, your differences don't matter.
Right.
In society, we make our differences matter so much more than anything we're doing that we get nothing done.
Yeah. And everyone's got their dogma they cling to, whatever it's of, I had a video this morning on that where I talked about the carnivore community dogma and how we need to get away from that, and how a better approach isn't like, because I can pick you apart and say, oh my gosh, you ate celery or you had coffee,
I had green beans with my steak.
Yeah. So, but the guy I interviewed yesterday, George, the veteran from the UK, he was a desert rat in Desert Storm, by the way. He's a really cool guy.
Okay.
And an intel guy. So he's our age. He's our generation, 58. and he reversed type 2 diabetes and reversed his Desert Storm syndrome symptoms. So
good.
Yeah, and it's totally healthy now, completely. In fact, so much so that his doctors freaked out and asked what he did because they had no clue. So anyway, he doesn't do super strict. I mean, he does some onions every now and then. He drinks alcohol because it's very social for military veterans in the UK to drink alcohol, and in America, I drink it occasionally. I got my whiskey shirt on, I mean, but the thing is, so what I talked about this morning was, the dogma is so strong. People defend three things to the death, and it's politics, religion, and diet, apparently, because I didn't realize diet was part of that until I became a carnivore, and now I know. It's like that's the third one you don't bring up on a date. I'm single, so I just don't bring it up. But I can tell you, what we need to do is go away from picking people apart and saying, hey, if someone asks a question, you still got to answer them. Like, hey, can I have fruit? Right? That's a good question because it's natural. It's not. So I just direct people, and when I directed people on my channel, I said, listen. The way to respond to that is respectfully. You say, hey, listen, in a carnivore diet, fruit's not really allowed. It's a best practice not to do that, but some people do it. And if you want best results, you follow the best practices that are, recognized. And
that's a wonderfully mature way to approach things. So, and people realize that too. I think people want to hear things that say it isn't an all in or all out solution set.
Right.
I like to look at things as being on a spectrum that's greater than 2 dimension. I was mentioning it earlier. Remember how our grandma had a coin purse and it had 2 little balls and you have to push it apart. No, not to push it in one.
Push it apart.
Little ball, and you push it apart and then it would open up a little bit.
That's your real old ones. Yeah.
Okay. So people used to ask me, where was I on the political spectrum? And I said, before you ask me that question, let me ask you this. I tell about that thing. Can you open it all the way around? So now it's a sphere, right?
Yeah.
There are things that I'll pop out over here relative to over here, but then I'll pop out over here and down there. Most people who are maybe say 40 and younger believe what they were told to believe. They haven't really had enough life experience to sit there and say, no, I was told to believe A. I went through life, and A is a good choice, or A is a stupid choice. I choose B, right? But we go through life, we learn these lessons. We're very complex. If I go and I think it's a defensive mechanism that's brought on by what they call the reticular activating system, a part of your brain that's at the very base of your brain, and which is your firewall. For an IT person, you have this in your brain. It's the firewall. I don't know if you're familiar with the RAS, but what it does is says, at the part of the brain that hardwires, it says, I will let into my brain the data that I have already chosen as being safe. You're going out to look for a car because, Chief, you want a brand new red Dodge pickup truck. You want it to be a 2500 series. You want it to be a crew cab. You want the alloy wheels. You want all these things on this truck, right?
Right.
So then you go and you look for it. You source it. You go and you buy. You finally get to the right dealer. You get the right price. You buy it. You get on the road, and everybody in your freaking neighborhood owns one, but you never saw one before.
Oh yeah. That's like an Ingram, right?
What's that?
That's like an Ingram, like when you start seeing your initials in a license plate.
Right.
Same odds as any other letters, but you see them because, it's a pattern.
So because as you would know as an IT guy, the amount of data being presented by our senses to our brain is way much more than what we allow in. If we allowed it all in, we'd be insane.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is with this reticular activation system is it's the same thing. We are finding things and allowing things. We get to write that code, by the way, right? And when we talk about carnivore and we talk about things that are unique to soldiers, sailors, and airmen, we can rewrite that code, but the programmer has to be on board, right? And then bringing along the physiological changes that allow for it. So like, I'm a real big proponent for stearic acid, C18, which is a big part of beef, butter, tallow. because it has a direct signaling impact on your mitochondria. Okay.
I do a lot of butter.
All right. So
butter
I put cocoa butter in my coffee because it's 44% stearic acid. But
nice.
The idea is there are ways we can hardwire through diet, and there are ways that we can work on the software through professional services that are available to us. But it looks like all we chose was C, chemical.
Yes, exactly. And it's terrible.
Well, it's inefficient. Most people don't realize that. Do you know you have a small brain in your gut?
I didn't know that. No.
It's called the enteric nervous system. There are about as many neurons in that as there are in a cat's brain. So you've got friends, people who've been in an IED type of situation or whatever, and they're quadriplegics, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it strange that their body still knows how to digest food and do everything else?
Yeah.
Well, because that enteric system it's a redundancy. So I think that we could utilize a lot of knowledge coupled with this dietary intervention to really bring that relief you talk about. Where carnivores are saying, I have mental clarity, maybe they're getting more ketones across the blood-brain barrier, whatever it is. But it's going to take some people like yourself evangelizing within the community.
Yep.
But it's also going to take us to not give up the ghost. Remember when they stopped? The tuna industry was in trouble because they were capturing dolphins.
Yeah. And they came out the dolphin-free nets, right?
We got to do the same thing here.
Yeah.
We can't. Did you remember the movie Lorenzo's Oil?
I do remember that. It was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, basically the kid had a skin disease that was causing his face to harden,
right?
And the mother and father wouldn't give up, and so they finally developed a treatment.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that now.
We have to be able to engage people in a non-confrontational way. You're an officer. You had to deal with competing acquisition needs, right? I'm long on requirements and short on budget.
Yep.
People who come at you like the soup Nazi, because I'm reading Laura saying about the soup Nazi, right? We can't be that way in this. That's why when I tell people, and people ask you what you're doing, you're saying I'm on an elimination diet. I've been having some gastro problems, and my doctor said that I should try to eliminate these things. And so far, I'm just down to here. People tend to respond to that a lot better than me saying I'm a carnivore.
Yeah, I tell people that I'm on zero carb diet, and they understand that. That sounds a lot less threatening than carnivore too. Carnivore sounds like I'm going to grab a big old bone and start chewing on it, right? But zero carb, everyone kind of knows low carb. So like, oh, okay, well, zero carb. So I'm on a zero carb diet. But I mean, so and another thing in my channel that I do, which I started, and I did it for this reason, is I started doing movie reviews of documentaries about diet. And from a carnivore point of view, so that you can use them to spark conversations with people who are objecting, not supportive, or who are curious. If they go with a critical mind and they look at it, they go, oh. And then so what I do is I kind of throw the movie up, and I got to recommend one to you called Fat, a documentary, if you haven't watched it yet. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah, that was one of them I did. I did that sugar film. I did the chocolate diet, which is really good because that exposes the farce of the epidemiological study. They took advantage of the media and made them look like idiots because they did a fake study using all the things that everyone uses to put these studies out, and everyone bought it, and it was hilarious. So I do movie reviews and kind of recommend them. So if you are wanting to have that discussion with a family member who's really ardently against it, you can at least say, hey, would you check this movie out? It kind of explains the low carb diet I'm on or whatever, or why I think whole foods are best, that kind of thing. So it's not a YouTube video, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a great approach, because I think that people are tired of being attacked for everything. We're very defensive, right? So
Right.
I think I like to use self-deprecating humor a lot, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
and the
disarming.
reason I've lived a charmed life.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in movies. I've been a paid actor. I went to beauty college. Obviously, I didn't pass. I did my military time. I was a state senator. I've done more movies. I've been in a web series. All these wonderful things. And people eventually they go, I can't believe this anymore, right? But if you're self-deprecating and you come at people with this bumbling Clouseau, Inspector Clouseau
I
type
love
thing,
Pluto. Yeah.
yeah, no one's gonna suspect for you anymore. There's a great movie, by the way, he did called Being There. Have you seen the movie?
Oh yeah. Chance. His name was
Yeah,
Chauncey or
Chauncey.
Chance? Chauncey.
Chauncey.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that was so good because that reminds me of kind of certain things going on now with certain leaders in the world.
Well,
But
if you think about this chocolate movie you just talked about, that's what came to my mind,
yeah, yeah,
But I think I
that was
suspect that classic.
classic Peter Sellers.
I suspect that people would be much more open if we weren't, like you were saying, attacking, denigrating, or otherwise making them feel like they're stupid. And when you use words like, well, I'm on an elimination diet or I'm on a low carb diet, we don't why do we feel compelled to tell people everything?
Yeah, they don't need to. They don't know the need to know, right?
Yeah, give them a little bit. If they're hungry and they pull on the line, you can set the hook.
Yeah.
But people tend to be like, it's all or nothing. You give me it all, or I have to cut your head off because you're not all the way with me. When I went to a high school reunion, which I think I only went to one, and I know you'd find it hard to believe, but I wasn't the cool kid in my school. And I graduated from a big school in El Paso, Texas. We had over 600 people in my graduating class.
Wow.
We started with almost 1,000. But anyway, when I went there and everybody knew I held office, and we weren't, so in Nebraska, the unicameral is non-political. I mean, you don't get to go on your party, all right? Because we have one house, so you don't have R's and D's and lower house and upper house. You just have senators. So what happened was people saw, oh, we got this guy coming in. I've got to challenge him, right? And I said, look, 80% of what we hold dear in our lives, we agree on. That last 20% to some varying degree of I disagree to a violently disagree.
Right.
Well, how about we just spend tonight, a special night on the 80% we agree on? Children should be taken care of. You should expect your first responder services to work. You know, those things, right? Yeah. Why do you want to go right to the hardest, ugliest? It's like I was a bouncer in a bar for a long, long time, right? And even when I was in the military, and I don't know your stature or anything like that, right? But when you're a big guy, all the little loudmouth people like you to be their friend. So when they go act like a jerk, you're back in their six, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't have you. You know what I mean? But why do people want to go up to the biggest person to prove themselves? So in the same way, why do you want to go to the biggest problem and prove yourself? I've never understood that philosophy of life.
I'm 6'3", 235, so I get it.
Yeah, you do. I'm 6'5" at about 275 now.
You know what this is? Open hand and closed hand, right?
Okay.
And this is as a Christian. I mean, you have to, because Christianity is just as dogmatic, right? Where you have people that are like super legalistic or people that are way off, and then again, new people coming in asking questions. Not different than what we're experiencing in carnivore at all,
right?
So you have to say, did Jesus die and rise 3 days ago or 3 days after? Yes, that's a close hand. That is required to be a Christian, right? I mean, Paul said it, So, but are we going to have a rapture? I don't care. It doesn't matter. You maybe not. That's an open hand deal. You can still be a Christian and believe either way. It does not change your salvation. So I think that's what we have to do with this diet too, right? We have to release some things. Say, listen, pudding? No, that's closed hand. You cannot do pudding. You want to do some broccoli? Okay, that's.
What about blood pudding?
Blood pudding, I think you probably could. I've never eaten it, but I mean,
I
no sugar in it, I don't think.
No sugar.
But I think open hand and closed hand is the way to go. And that's what I learned being a Christian, because I didn't become a Christian until later in life either. I heard you say that. I was 30 when I got saved. So, I had to learn that because I was confused when I came in, like, well, what about this? Or what about that? Some people say, people still like quoting Leviticus to me as like for eating meat. I'm like, I'm not under that law. That's
right.
That's right. Let's just start with that one. I'm not Jewish. So that's closed hand. So anyway, you just got to let it roll off your shoulder sometimes. Some people are going to want to fight too. There's people that are picking fights. That person who was doing Leviticus was like trying to pick a fight with me. I'm like, I'm not going to fight you because there's no gain there. I'm not going to change your opinion. You're not going to change mine. Let's just walk away and be respectful. Right.
Yeah. And I think that, again, that goes back to that part I was talking about. All or nothing doesn't work. It's never worked. It never will work. And the only time it will work is for all those who've chosen a path to death. I mean, I hold out like you when you brought up and you were talking about faith based. The guy who hung on the cross to the right of Jesus, he never got sprinkled, never got dunked, never went to a meeting. Yeah. Us military guys, we're all about, hey, let's just stick to the facts. Bottom line up front, right, Buff? I bottom line up front, and I used to say, and ignorantly so, I used to say, because the scripture says some people will smell of smoke when they make it into heaven, right?
Yeah.
And I said, as long as I'm in, I'm good. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that there's more than just the minimum amount. But I think that our discussions in what we do, and to circle back to what you were talking about, our discussion with first responders and veterans should really be inclusive of. We all understand that body chemistry has a big influence on what we do. I mean, you could probably enter into a conversation with almost anybody and say the Snickers commercial, right? Hey, Stan, you're hangry, right?
Yeah.
So we understand that. We understand that there's a relative understanding of the chemistry set that is our body. If we can make that connection, then we can say, hey, look, let me share something with you. Have you ever been hangry at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Right.
Have you been hanging around the donut bar or whatever, right? Would you like to be free of that? Would you like to be free of the headaches? Would you like to be free of the absolute need to have to put something in your pie hole?
Right. It is so empowering to be free of that. So I'm super empowered through this. It's amazing.
Have you read Dr. Jason Fung's books on the diabetes code or the obesity code?
I have not yet.
Okay. If you get a chance, F-U-N-G. I know you took notes, but Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G, he's a nephrologist. He's the person that some of the people from in the last stages of the type 2 diabetes will see when their kidneys are failing.
Yeah.
And his books, I would get the digital one and the second one, which I think it would be the diabetes code, because it contains most of the obesity code in it. Whichever one's the second one, I can't remember. I got them both. He's the one who advocated, hey, fast a little bit. And he was the one who was getting people off of insulin who've been on 100 units of insulin for 20 years.
Yeah.
Inside of 30 days.
Yeah. It's so radically fast. It's amazing. That's the cool thing about this. Yes.
Well, it's biblical too. And it's also in every world religion. But the idea is, I have friends who are type 2 diabetes who will sit down to a plate of pasta or whatever it is, lots of carbs. They will eat it, enjoy it. Then they'll pick up their shirt. They'll pick up their fat roll. They'll grab their pen full of insulin, dial in 6-10 units of insulin, and jab themselves with it right at the dinner table without thinking about it.
Wow. That's
sad.
Like,
horse in a cart here, bud.
Yeah.
How about you don't stuff that in your face, and you don't put the insulin in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go back, I'm on a Christian carnivore site too. And we were talking about this the other day, saying that, man makes inferior knockoffs at best. He can make so when he makes food, processed food, spaghetti, whatever, when he processes food, he's making an inferior knockoff at best, and an abomination at worst, and mostly an abomination, right? So if you're not eating what God made, I mean, we're getting theological here, but I mean, God makes the meat, right? Or you can say nature. If you're not a Christian, you can say natural food. Man makes inferior knockoffs or abominations of natural food. So natural food's vastly superior. And of course, if you're a non-Christian, you believe in evolution, and you have to believe that's the right way to go, because that's what we ate for whatever that, Now, if you're a Christian, you say, well, God made it, so we should eat what God made. Even broccoli is man-made. There was no broccoli before the Roman Empire, I think, existed. This is all made through splicing different, plants together.
Look at corn.
Yeah,
corn is a type of grass.
Yeah, Moses didn't eat broccoli or corn. That wasn't around. I mean, it's crazy that all the foods that are making us sick are either genetically modified by man or man-made or processed. If you just eat the natural food that's just there, then you don't have the problems.
But also in concert with that, right? We have fallen victim to the science that brought about these hyper sweet foods, like they used to eat wheat, and we know from dental records that caries came about with the cultivated wheat.
Yeah,
but in general, everything is sweeter, is much more bioavailable for what they want it to be, right. And I really think that going backwards is not going back to the old food. Like, I have neighbors right across the street over here, across the lot. They like to grow only heritage tomatoes and heritage food, so to speak. I don't know how heritage it is.
Yeah.
But that is not going to get people where they need to be. I think what we need to do with that, how the 80-20 rule is, right? I think the 80-20 rule here is going to be get rid of anything that's not meat. And I think Dr. Berry says it really well.
Yeah.
Eat a hot dog before you eat a hot dog before you eat a bagel.
Yep.
Eat a piece of chicken before you eat a hot dog, right? The spectrum.
Yeah. In fact, I do that. I eat before I go out to social events. If I'm going to go out to a birthday party or to hang out with my veteran buddies, I will eat 3 burger patties at home and then go out. I can't be tempted at that point. I cannot. I butter on those things. I'm good to go. They can put my favorite cake in front of me and I'll be like, whatever. I don't want it. Well, I'm past all the cravings, and I'm in, like I said, empowered and in control now. But a little bit of planning can make a big difference.
You mentioned that, and we were going somewhere the other day, and my wife, who is not carnivore, but she is very loving and caring and supportive of me, she packed hot dogs in her purse for me.
Not
She said, "Here's some hot dogs."
That's a good woman there.
Oh, man. I way outkicked my coverage, and I know that every minute of every day. I'm not always as astute as I need to be, but I way outkicked my coverage there. But I think the challenge is, as you said a few times throughout this, is to drop the dogma.
Yep.
And I said it in my interview with JT at the close. I mean, we got to show other people grace, and we need to show ourselves some grace in this journey, because as you have mentioned with your personal salvation, that is yours.
Right.
No one can do it for you. No one can eat for you. No one can exercise for you. No one can work through your challenges for you. But what we can do is come alongside people and share with them our experience, which I would call wisdom.
Right.
And then say, how will you approach it? I mean, I know you've had troops before that you had to counsel,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're counseling your troops standing there, maybe thinking, "Are we going to do an Article 15 or not?" Right? And you're sitting there and you're saying to you're saying to the troop, "Do you want to be on the team? Here are your choices. Let me walk with you to let you see the potential outcomes here before you start making decisions. Don't open your mouth. Just let me help you walk through consequences, right? We should do the same thing for other people and for ourselves."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So anyway, I just wanted to stop in. I'm not going to stay much later. I got to get to bed pretty soon here. It's 9:38. Just want to stop in, say hi, and offer you that invitation. I will send you my Calendly links so you
Okay.
can see what dates are open. And it's just
Okay.
it's not live. It's just a recording where
Okay.
we'll do do an hour long interview or a little more maybe, and then I'll just publish it out later. So I love to do it, and I'm really excited to do it with you because I think you have a lot to say and a lot of experience having that Army medical background. That's great. That's really good.
You bet. And anything I can do to be of assistance in whatever you're doing, and if I can find a POC for you there in Texas to talk to do other things, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Well, we'll keep our conversation going. I'll try to drop in. You do these every night, you said?
Pretty much Monday through Thursday. Sometimes I come on Sunday, but then Friday and Saturday are my wife's, and that's how we kind of work there. I normally come in 8:30 to 9:30. What I try not to do is step on other people who are doing a live, because I don't think that's cool.
I have a live on Wednesdays if you're not doing Bible study or something. It's a Hump Day meetup at 7:05 p.m. and I'll invite you to that too if you want to be a special guest on it. It's just,
I'll sit in there with you. I mean,
Q&A.
This whole thing where we do what do they call that?
Panels.
The panel. What was that old show where they had the
Hollywood Squares?
Hollywood Squares. Yeah. I'm all about engaging people and giving people an opportunity and a voice. That's why I want to do what I do here tonight. Anybody who's out there, I mean, I get people come in, they just sit there and every once in a while they pipe up, and other times I get 4 or 5 people. Last night I was on for 4 hours with someone over there in California, and we had a tremendous conversation. My goal is not to be monetized. My goal is to evangelize. So you and I both know we get a military retirement. I get a really nice VA opportunity.
I'm a VA guy.
Yeah, I got other revenue streams. Would I like some more? Absolutely. Do I need some more at the expense of my family or other people? Not a chance in hell.
I'm not doing this for money either because I am monetized, but it's like I just got monetized and it's so little you wouldn't believe. It's like, it doesn't cover really the cost of all the subscriptions to get everything running, I think, and then buy stuff like a mic and everything. This is all a passion project for me.
That's right. That's right.
So that's what it is for me because I really believe and I'm thankful that YouTube's here because YouTube has made this possible, that we can do this, that we can make a grassroots organization move out. I've connected with veterans in Australia, in the UK, all over America, like all over the world. People are starting to, and it's just amazing. So I really love the fact that we have this opportunity, and I'm gonna hard charge into it. So
well, I love it too, and I loved watching when I watched you about a month ago, and I think your family was involved, and you had just got your Yeti. And they were giving you some serious G6 grief. And I thought about it, and I said to myself, when he gets his technology figured out and everything, I want to participate because I think that in a joint effort, we're going to definitely be able to impact lives.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what we're all about.
I think so. That's what I'm about. So I'm going to jump off, guys. But hey, it's nice meeting everyone. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, B-Dog. Thank you, Laura, Robert. I really appreciate you guys. So,
hey, make sure you throw your link in here. Make sure you throw your link in.
It's that Carnivore Soldier. So let me put it in.
Yeah.
At Carnivore Soldier. You see it? Just Carnivore. Just put the at Carnivore Soldier.
And gotcha.
I do have the Mission Carnivore, which we'll be doing together pretty soon. But I already have one up that you can check out and I recommend because the guy was George. His last name's Good Enough,
Okay.
Corporal Good Enough, and he was a desert rat intel guy. Speaks Arabic and French. Really smart guy.
All
and
right.
Really fun to watch. Really, that's the other thing. You never know who you're going to get. I just open it up to veterans. Like, hey, if you're a veteran and you're carnivore and you'd be interested, come to me. And they are. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think a lot of the ones that have become carnivores this early are pretty intellectual. And like I was talking to George, I was like, people ridiculed people for doing their own research recently. And when I grew up, and when you grew up, Scott, that was called reading. That's what we had to do. And in fact, I'm a wireless network architect right now so I for a university, and I have to, because every 18 months technology doubles and things change. I cannot stay on the standard I came in. And in fact, when I went to college, none of the technology existed, including cell phones, Wi-Fi, internet. None of that existed when I went to college. So, I mean, how would I learn if I didn't? So I did Barnes and Noble University is what I did.
Right.
And that's what those books back there. That's right there. Boom. That's military and signal books that I learned.
Right.
So, I mean, do your own research. You have to hone your skill as a carnivore. You have to, because
I think it's inherent, like you said. If you're going to take the bull by the horns and change one of the single most central themes of your life, what you put in your pie hole, right?
Yep.
When you start to look at that, and you start to look at everything from the macronutrients down to epigenetic effects of stearic acid on your mitochondrial fusion, right? You're going to almost start to sound like bodybuilders who know more about hormones than most endocrinologists.
It's true. It's true. But you have to be your own advocate, even like, especially the VA or wherever, you have to be your own advocate. That's to ensure your best outcome. You have to. And it's diet's the same way.
And we need to take the stigma away from it. There's no stigma in you being in charge of your life. There's nothing negative for you saying, this I will do and that I won't do. This is the hill I'll die on, and this is not. Then that's worthless.
Yep. And this is not new, right? Copernicus went through it when he said that the Earth's not the center of the universe, but all scientific consensus was to the opposite, and government was all again, which was church back then. But it was
what did Hippocrates say? Yeah. Physician, heal thyself.
That's right. So anyway,
aren't you glad that you're not in that day when you know what diabetes actually meant, right?
No, what was it?
Sweet pea.
Oh yeah. Well, that makes sense, right? Don't know how they knew.
Glad with technology.
Yeah.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself. We'll see you around. All right.
Yep. I'm leaving right now. Thanks, guys.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's catch up. Hey, Robert Bubba Baker, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you in here. Good to see everybody in here. Thank you for your support earlier this evening when I was on with JT and the Poco family. That was awesome, and we had a good time there. And it was amazing, well, at least it was amazing to me, that we barely got into anything there in that hour and 15 minutes. So I really appreciate you all coming in and throwing in your conversation. I would have loved to spent more time just getting into your comments, but we did what we can. All right. Yeah. Carnivore Soldier, great guy. That gentleman there, he started out in the Navy on attack subs, and he ended up in the Army doing IT stuff. And so a tremendous volume of knowledge, and he's doing some great things out there. And it's good. It's good to hear different points of views. Our carnivore transformers in here from South Africa. Good to see you. Of course, we have our friends from British Columbia there with Robert Bubba Baker. Laura's here. And again, I really appreciate everybody who's been in here. Susan's here. South Carolina's well represented. well represented. Let me learn how to speak. Running the doctor is relatively new phenomenon. It used to be. That's right. And doctors used to do what we're calling now concierge medicine. Hey, it's the low carb carnivore. How you doing? Good to see you. I appreciate you coming by and dropping in here tonight in our rather impromptu late night. Got a little early start tonight. Did our interview with JT. That was my very first interview, and I hope that I didn't cause anybody to be embarrassed or otherwise think what was. Otherwise, I think a fantastic opportunity to reach people. JT reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. As you all know, JT was working hand in hand with our tremendous advocate and friend there at Homestead How Carry. And just that whole thing that went on this weekend on the Carnathon, as I like to call it, the Carnathon, that was absolutely amazing. I want to say the better part of $40,000 was raised in 24 hours to go toward the movie. Now, if you go and you look at the GoFundMe, they already started out with a sizable chunk of cash in it, but I think the total for the 24 hours was roughly 40 grand, and that is absolutely amazing. Thank you all. It's going to make such a difference in so many people's lives. I really thank you all for being a part of that. And again, thank you for Larry and the Carnivore Soldier coming in. It's amazing as this community grows, as more people come on board and they start to bring their background into what we're doing. Uh, we are going to bring more and more people in who are not going to fall victim or fall prey to corporate media and the corporate industries that are dominating our lifestyles through medication and delivery of health care, our agricultural world. I'm not trying to knock ag. No, I love ag, and I'm on record. I love food, but the idea that mono farming and such is beneficial for the overall well-being of everybody. I just think that's not going to hold water. I love this heritage farming. I love the farmers that came on the Carnathon this weekend and showed us that there are people out there trying to raise beef and ruminants and all these different livestock food sources in a very what do we say, compassionate carnivore way. So anyway, if anybody wants to join this tonight, let me go ahead and put the link here in the comments. Bada boom, bada bing. There's the link. You know how I operate here. If you come into the green room and we all play well in a sandbox, let's bring some people in. You want to come in and share some thoughts? You want to share some things going on in your world? You want to share a topic? Come on in. Jump on into the sandbox. We are in an environment where everybody should feel safe to express themselves. Great marathon, you betcha. Laura's given us, well, my son is here, so I'm going to say, okay, good night. You take care. Enjoy your son. Okay. That's great. I know Beyond Burgers. You know what kills me about Beyond Burgers, their dog? This is what kills me. They work so hard to make them smell and taste like beef. If they're good, let them taste like the crap they are. Why are you trying to emulate something you're demonizing? That is absolutely asinine. I don't use that word lightly. You know what I'm saying? All right. Hey, by the way, thank you all for the kind words earlier when you all said I had a humor. I know that Robert Bubba Baker, you talked about my humor. I know that some people may find my humor dry. Other people may find it over the top. But it's not easy to find the comedic center. We don't want to alienate anybody. No, do we? No, we don't. Hello, Natalie. What's going on? You've been listening. I'm so pleased. The Cartersville address, military personnel. Yes. You know, in general, Natalie, wouldn't we say that worldwide our mental health needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed in so many different aspects. Why are kids being given so much Adderall and medications for all the ADD, ADHD? I can't keep up with all the acronyms. I'm not trying to be flippant, but there are more medications than there are people. What is going on here? It's horrible. It is absolutely an abomination what's going on. Hello, Woodster. Hey, what's up with the UFC? Loving that, Woodster. I know you have a lot of UFC videos, but I'm liking the graphic. Meat is delicious, even big. That's right. That's exactly right. It's so good. Let's copy it, right? I mean, they do say that imitation is the highest form of flattery. Oh, it's all good. We are all here and we are doing well. Robbie. Is Robert Bubba Baker Robbie now? Inquiring minds want to know. I know, good to see everybody here tonight in this after party, so to speak. Yeah. Oh, wrong again. Glad I could help you out there, my friend. Glad to. I have two accounts also. So one time I posted my Bible reading onto this one. I could have left it. There's so many believers here, so it's all good. All right. Everything's well. You worked out with your son tonight. That's awesome. Hey, I've got your email. I sent you an answer, and I'm on board. I don't know what it looks like. Robert, but let me know, okay? All right. So, hey, I don't know if you all noticed, but there's a little bit of artwork over here on the bench. And then you can't tell, but I'm gonna go ahead and move because I was being interviewed tonight. I cleaned up my office a little bit, I put the guitar still there, but try to clean up a little bit here. And then I actually put some things on the wall. Let me go ahead and big in it. Look, I've got things on the walls. I got things behind me, things on a credenza, and I even went so far as to put some of my artwork on the wall. There. Ye shall let thy beard roam free. Yeah. Yeah. That's my picture. It's been on the deacon's bench for a long time, but I finally hung it up. But I didn't know where we were going to go tonight with regards to JT and the interview tonight. So I went ahead and I cleaned up. I didn't clean it all up. Don't get crazy. I didn't clean it all up, but I cleaned most of it up. Yeah, sure did. All right. Now, you like my humor? Oh, thank you. You're too kind to me. Thank you very much. I like to be funny. I like self-deprecating humor, but sometimes I guess I get carried away with it. I don't want to ever seem like I'm ungrateful for the many blessings I have and the ability to articulate and things like that. So thank you. Dry sense and goofy humor. Yeah, that's the way it is. Hey, by the way, how's David doing? I know that we've been praying for David. Yeah, still is. Okay. What do we have here? Yeah. That also needs addressing. Yes, yeah, a lot of things need addressing. Oh, senior pictures. Always thought. Yeah, I do. So the picture that's up right over here, that is something. Let me get my finger right. This one. That's what my wife did. My art tends to be more abstract. I apologize. It's kind of like what we're not supposed to do. So you see the 4 paintings there on the wall. Those are mine. They're abstracts. 2 of them are with wax, and one of them is just some abstract painting. And the one with the orange stripe, that is actually a very ancient form of artwork. and that form of artwork uses wax and Damar resin, and you can do it through multiple layers. But I do all sorts of things. I do photography, and I do some digital manipulation of photography, and I do macro photography. Here's a little picture I did of dandelion. Yeah, dandelion. There you go. I can almost see that dandelion really up close with lots of focus. But I do a lot of different things to include, like this is a poured art. Have you ever seen poured art where you have the different cells in the artwork, different colors and different cells? I just wanted to do something. This one is another one I did, and it's just a lot of latex paint and things like that. Yeah, I had no idea. And this is one of my one of the bowls I do. So this is a bowl. I think I showed it the other day, but you can kind of see it better now. But it has a little texture, a little bit of a ridge line to it, and yep, a solid piece of walnut that was destined to the dump. It was in the burn pile. It was going to the dump, and if you could imagine a piece of wood just cut off, it was just cut off on this side, broken over here, and I worked it, and this is what I made with it. And it sits on our island, and I don't know, I think the bowl is probably about that deep, right? And we can put fruit or whatever we want to in it. And if you look at this corner a little close, you can kind of see it has a few blemishes and cracks right here along this edge right here, right? But to me, it just represented how we are and how we can be made, and things can be made useful that are considered trash. So I had no idea we were going to go with JT, so I brought it all in here, Yeah. Okay, let's check up on some things going on here. Worcester, let me get my glasses on. Can I? Yeah, absolutely. Here you go, buddy. Here you go. That invitation is always there for everybody. If you want to jump in, you just jump in for a couple of minutes, all right? Once I see you in, I'll bring you up just like I did the Carnivore Soldier. I'm kind of the artist myself. I've done a few painting, a lot of digital art and photography. I love it. I just wish I knew how to use Photoshop better, because I have a Canon 5D Mark IV camera. I've got some L lenses. I love to take some pictures. But I used to use Lightroom, but Lightroom is not. You have to pay for it every month now. That's a bridge too far. You want to learn how to do spray can? Yeah, I love that. You've seen those guys on YouTube. They just put a bowl and they spray around and it is. The next thing you know, you have a beautiful like space scene. It's incredible. I got to ride with and visit David. Oh, I know, at the wedding. That's right. And good. I am so glad you had that chance to do that, Susan. I know how important family is, and I know your brother is super important. Love the screensaver there, Worcester. Hey, well done. Give me some audio so I can hear you,
Yep.
brother.
Can you hear me here?
I got you loud and clear, brother.
Perfect. It's a little bit of different setup here. We're adjusting. I got the microphone here now instead of just using the webcam mic, so that should help.
What microphone are you using?
It's the Blue Yeti. It's been in some
videos great.
that I usually hold. So hopefully it's all good there.
Now, what setting do you have your Yeti on? Remember, now you have four settings.
Yeah. I believe it's the heart-looking one. It's not really going to show it. No. It's a heart-looking one. I believe that's for like one person, if I remember right.
Well, it's still picking up a cardioid thing, so you have to be real careful around you. If your voice travels too far in the room and bounces off a hard surface, eventually there could be some minor degradation.
Okay, but I do have a wall right here to my left, about a foot away from the mic, but
that's good. The wall to the left is good. Anything further away, that could be the challenge. Okay, but you'll be just fine.
All right, get my chat open here so I can see.
Thank you, Allison, for the artwork. Thank you.
Settings.
I think everybody is an artist, and I think everybody needs to. Allison, you're running. Okay, good night. Thank you. For finding and calling it out, Bubba. I appreciate that. Allison, you take care. Thank you for coming on in there tonight.
Thank you. There we go. Okay.
A year. I'm glad you got to see your brother. More, hey, I want to before you jump in there real quick, Woodster. I'm not a technology whiz by any stretch of the imagination, but I want to show you guys an application I use. It's called, you'll see it right here in the corner, and it's got like that beach ball. It's called Marco Polo.
Oh yeah, it's like a videoing app.
Yeah, it's like a video texting app.
Uh-huh.
I use that with my very best buddy. He's my Forrest Gump. I'm his Bubba. And I use that with him, and I use it with my family. It's a wonderful tool that allows you to video back and forth to people at your leisure. It's like video texting, and I absolutely love it. And might be something you could use, Susan, to stay in contact with your brother. Okay, just as FYI, just throwing that out there for no reason.
Was she looking for something?
No, but she just hadn't seen her brother in a year. She went to a wedding this past weekend and got a chance to ride and talk with them. And I just think that it is so nice to be able to talk to people on a reoccurring basis, just like this is. We got duplex, not simplex, but it's great to be able to talk to people.
Right.
Cool. What is a Turtle Beach, Mike? I'm lost.
Turtle Beach. That's usually it's for gaming.
Okay.
Xbox, PC, they have different types of headsets for that way you can hear better in games and stuff. Has a microphone and all that.
Okay, cool. I get it. Okay. So what's up with you today? What's up?
I was going to tell you about this background here. This is actually, I don't think I took this picture, but I've been up this place a few times. It's in Wyoming, which is where I live. It's called Lost Twin Lakes. It's like maybe a 3 to 4 hour hike each way. And
wow.
This rock here, see right here, this one,
I
believe, if I remember right, it's like 1,000-foot cliff there. So it doesn't look as big, in the picture, but it's crazy up there. Lost Twins, Wyoming.
I just Googled it.
Okay. Yeah.
I can definitely see that. Wow. That's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever seen. I think I've been up there 3 or 4 times.
If you've ever had a chance, have you ever been to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho?
I have not.
Okay, so Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and right near Coeur d'Alene, I spell that COURDE''LENE, something like Coeur d'Alene.
Mm-hmm.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho has, I want to say, 2 of the deepest freshwater lakes in North America.
Okay.
And in one, not at Coeur d'Alene, but next to it, the U.S. Navy actually does some sub training. It's so deep.
You said sub, like submarine?
Yeah.
In the lake?
Yeah.
Wow. Must be. I'm looking at a map here. It looks like it's a pretty good sized lake.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Don't go in the wintertime if you don't like cold. But, you go in the late spring, early summer. Oh, my gosh. I've been around the world. And that rivaled some things I've seen in the Alps and Switzerland and Austria and places like that in Italy and France. I've been to the tallest mountain in Europe. I skied on the base of it. And
really? What was that?
Yeah, Mount Blanc in France. But I just say that I've been there and seen that. It's like, wow. But Coeur d'Alene was really not cheap. It's got
Is it pretty touristy, Coeur d'Alene?
Coeur d'Alene, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I think
it's like maybe 8 hours from here, so maybe a little farther. Let me look.
Probably. Yeah.
About 10 hours from me.
Okay, I missed something here. All right, I'm gonna put this up. Natalie, you said they don't make enough low carb carnivore ideal antiques and would provide a living back. I would like to know more about what you have there, Natalie. I missed a part of that, and I'd love to know more about that. Hello, my weight loss life. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
I believe I got this set up to where I'm streaming it to my channel.
Good. Good.
So I'm not sure. Will my comments come through in this comment section as well? If there's anybody.
Well, let's see. Send something out.
send something out just from this page here, the StreamYard page?
Yeah, just text on your page. Yeah. Because I have noticed in the past when multiple people log in.
There we go.
Yeah, I see the hello
through.
everyone from you, but you've been here for a while. But I do see the link. So if you look on your like right now, I looked at Susan's, right? Susan is in, I think, maybe off of maybe both.
Oh, I see. There's like a little circle thing above her name.
Yeah, that little infinity, that little link. So I see
Okay.
yours was linked to it. So now I think what happens in this whole IT setup is the servers are trying to sync.
Okay.
And sometimes it takes 20, 30 minutes for everybody to see everybody else's comments. So what I often do is I'll just throw up 2 pages and have both. So I'll mute one and then I'll copy and paste,
Susan's here, she says. All right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we got probably mostly the same people anyways, but I just figured I'd test it out here.
Yeah. Hey, it's our Keto Vogornian. How you doing?
Yeah. Keto Voragonian. It's a tough one to say sometimes.
I know. Oh, I found Dr. Ham. Matter of fact, I went to the old hospital. I used to work at our local Army hospital. Went up there with the wife, and we were doing some stuff, and I stopped off at this one guy's office. He's a wonderful man. What a beautiful man this he is. And he suffers from type 2 diabetes, African-American. His mom passed away last year, had really bad dementia. That's a lot of diabetes. And I said, I'm going to get Dr. Hampton. I'm going to get that link, and I'm going to send it to him. And I told him, I said, I'm going to send it to you because, I don't have a racist bone in my body beyond what God put into me, right? And he knows that also. But I said, but it'll make a difference for you to hear the truth from a African-American doctor.
Now, this was a friend of yours, you said?
Oh, yeah. He was a coworker.
Okay.
And a friend. And he's just absolutely, hey, Kayla, how you doing? Welcome. You coming in from Brent's page from Woodson 72. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody, just as a side note, I can go ahead and put the banner up here, but I think it would be great that everybody here smash the like button, of course. And if you see somebody's page out there and you don't know who they are, ask them. Just type their name at their name and say, do you have a page? Everybody who has a page, feel free to put that in the comments so that everybody can follow everybody at one point in time, okay? Cool.
Looks like Robert. He says he's I am going to say goodnight, everyone.
Oh, okay. Are you out of here? Okay. Good night, Bubba. We'll see you around. Appreciate you. I didn't get a chance to comment, but I did watch your video, and I will address your video that you had with your son shortly. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming into the live earlier with JT too.
Yeah, how did that go, Scott?
What's that?
How did that go? I was in there for about 5 minutes, maybe 10.
It went fast.
It went fast, yeah.
It went real fast. I can't say hello in under 500 words.
You're right. That's one of your gifts.
Yeah. Speaking of gifts, do you get watch time for live streams? Yes. And I was just telling a Woodster the other day, I finally figured something out, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, just say Becky. Well, that'd be great, Becky, if I had a mind that remembered everybody's name. I am horrific at the whole name game. So I will do my very best, Miss Becky. But you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. But what I found out is if you go on to if you have your own presence and you're concerned or you're tracking your watch time, make sure that when you drill down to it, you're not looking at just a 28-day running average. Look at your 90-day or 1 year.
Right. Yep. What were you had it on, what was it, 30 days was it set to, or what?
I think it's 28 days is the default.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right.
And so that was kind of discouraging you, right?
Well, it kept going down.
Waiting, I'm sure.
Yeah. And do you remember when we talked about putting it on loop and watching it when we went to sleep?
Yeah. Do you think it worked?
Why is this happening? Yeah.
I was going to check mine, see. I'm sure it hasn't changed much as I haven't been very active the last week or two. But
Natalie says
update you.
Yeah, Natalie says about Black Forest. Yeah, I've been to the Black Forest. I'm very familiar with all that. Absolutely stunning carvings. You're right. I don't have that skill. I'm not trying to get to that skill. I have the skill to make a bowl, maybe, and I have the skill to make spoons, and that is enough.
I think they're pretty cool. I like your little bowl there.
Yep, I love it too. It's heavy. It's like substantial.
It's pretty dense, like the wood.
Oh yeah, it's this piece of wood probably weighs the better part of 3 pounds.
Wow. And what kind of wood was it? You said not
walnut.
apple. Walnut. There you go.
And this is my hand. I have a pretty good sized hand.
Yeah.
With a whole thumb, and I can't reach. And I can reach a full octave on a piano, right? So
is that prepared for food? What do you have to do to do that?
Oh yeah, I sand it. I sand it down to a 600 grit, which is pretty fine.
Really fine.
And then I use a food grade finish for it. So you could eat out of it. You could serve food out of it. You could do whatever you want to. You'll wash it lightly with some soap and water and whatever. And then every year or so, put some more. You can use mineral oil, but I use something called Odie's. But
that's your seal.
Yeah, okay. And it's stout. You hit someone in the head, and it's going to cause
pretty
significant damage.
So you want to do a type of plate? You said with a kind of a little bit higher sidewall, right?
Yeah, just a simple little plate that you can put a steak on and cut it and not worry about it. I don't want to get into the whole end grain effort because you got to cut it, you got to turn it, you plane it, glue it up, re-scrape it, then route it, do it. But I mean, it's a lot of work that you have to turn out a lot of articles, right? I'm not doing this to make a living. I'm just doing it to supplement maybe every once in a while, a payoff a month of being on the StreamYard.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Scott, I still owe you $20.
Well, first of all, you don't owe me. I appreciate the sentiment and I respect that, and I will do my best to give you the opportunity to honor that. But
still waiting. Just tell me the place.
Yeah, I get you.
Told you to cover your first month.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't have such a watch out. I'm trying. Don't be sorry. Don't be. That's why I took what you said, Susan, to heart. I'm getting ready. I'm making that other bowl, and I am working to make it just in multiple segments, and I'll show you when I'm hogging out the wood, and I'll show you when I'm shaping the bowl and the first initial sanding, and that will be it. Then I'll make another one when I finish it, and try to keep it less than 14 hours long.
When's that? Is that a video coming out?
Yeah, most of it's in the can. I just got to sit down and put it. It does, like you said, it does take a lot of time.
Yep.
To put anything of any quality ready.
Yeah, now, I've been really struggling with my videos lately.
Well, I think that's why I'm doing these lives. I'll do since I'm not focused on being a what do you call it, monetized. Then I think I'm going to focus on doing this. The people will come when they come, and the watch hours will come as they come. And if I don't get 4,000 watch hours in the first year,
yep.
If I don't get 1,000 people,
you have a rolling year. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
but we're going to do more of these type of things.
Yeah, it seems like because I was having issues with my phone, I actually had to go through my whole phone, I think 2 nights ago, and delete a bunch of stuff. So I have about 11,000 pictures on there and all sorts of videos. So I had to actually clear out quite a bit because my record time for my videos was like 2 minutes.
Right.
So I was trying to record videos, and I was recording it with the front-facing camera because it's higher quality. And I'd record a video and turn around to stop it, and it wasn't even recording. And so it kept cutting off, I think, around 2 minutes. So I had to finally do a deep dive through the phone.
This right here is the answer.
Is it a HDD drive or something?
It's just a storage device.
Oh,
I got two.
wow.
I got 2 or 3 of them, right?
This guy?
And yep.
Oh, there,
I,
kind of.
yeah, I got you.
This is one from way back in the day. I think it's 3 terabytes.
Right.
5.
And
It's
I make
plenty.
I make folders on them and say phone backup and date, and just throw it all in there.
I need to use this more often. Is what I should be doing.
Yeah. So Natalie, no, first of all, Becky, the quality. So this is my understanding from my years of professional video, professional acting. All right, content is king. All the rest is fluff. If you think about some of the movies that were made on an iPhone, Spike Lee says you have more video or cinematic opportunity on an iPhone than he had on the first 3 or 4 movies he made. It's always about the story and the content. After that, people will forgive you for a lack of technology. They will not be forgiving for a lack of content.
Yep.
So,
I've always heard audio is more important than video too.
Well, yeah, okay. So you want to get the components out. That's very true. That's why a Yeti's a great mic. I don't know if I'll be able to bring this up, but I have this Elgato Wave 3.
Yeah, I used to have some Elgato recording equipment for Xbox
and I've got
stuff.
something with Elgato that I can put in a XLR mic eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But, audio should just not be crappy.
Yeah. I'd say most phones do decent quality. It's plenty.
Yep.
It's like, so Becky, we'll call her Becky instead of her YouTube name here. I think I left a comment the other day on her channel, and I did this to someone else too. I said, just, people appreciate the consistent uploading, because I see her name pop up on my phone a couple times a week, and it's good to see that, because then I know, okay, she's got another video and she's consistent. It's very important.
We're building a community here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we're doing. Hello, Maribel. How are you? Welcome back. How are you today? We just I think that the part of building a community has something called familiarity, that we're familiar with one another, and I think that's the one of the key ingredients in that. I have been to streams that were really, really big. I think Kerry has a very big following, right? He got a large, loyal following.
Yep.
And in as much as that is, those people that were with him 4 years ago, they have to be near and dear to his heart if they've been consistent, right?
Yep.
So the crowds will come over time. The important part is that we build a relationship with the people that are with us now.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Mary Bella. Maybe has she been coming in recently?
Oh yeah, Maribel's been coming on more and more occasions. I've seen her in a couple other streams, and that's what we do. We kind of start seeing each other, hanging out at the same places. Like when we were young and we go to the park, we see the same kids.
Right.
No one around you is like this community. You're right. I was talking about that in the interview I gave to JT. I've been fortunate to be around the world. I've been very fortunate to be associated with some of the finest people doing some of the hardest things that people might do. Not always the best people, but good people. And you build really strong bonds with people when you're under duress and you come through that duress. And I think that those of us who are engaged in remodeling our bodies and doing the carnivore way of life, we are in a battle, and we are forging bonds that will make lasting relationships if we allow them to. Yeah. So I think this is your new community where you can find like-minded people. Got something there, Brent?
Oh, I was just checking, making sure the stream is working over here.
All right. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do have a topic though, because I
So
heard you saying something about topics earlier. I want to talk about shortcuts in you can call it the dieting community, health community, whatever you want to call it. I've been noticing a lot of different ways that people can find shortcuts to get to what they want. And from what I'm seeing is it usually doesn't result in what you want. You actually, putting in the time to get there is very important. People are just trying to get past what it takes to get to their goals, I guess. That's kind of what I was trying to make a video on earlier tonight, but it wasn't coming out right. So I thought maybe it'd be a good topic to bring up here.
well, I think we've all been around long enough to recognize that if it's too good to be true,
Mm-hmm.
it is, right?
Yeah.
And that shortcuts are off ramps to disillusionment, if you would, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even if we aren't grossly out from underneath the bell curve, so I like to talk a lot about bell curves, right?
Okay.
That distribution. If we're not far out from underneath it, it's part of our human nature, our sinful nature, to desire something more.
Mm-hmm.
And in that pursuit of moreness, if I can use that, that's not a good word, but in that pursuit of more, we get disillusioned and we start to look for um, those opportunities or things we see as opportunities to acquire more. And it never works out, ever.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a price to be paid for circumventing natural law
Yeah, I
or
think
God's law.
I just see like when people they're looking for, what's going to be easier, right? I mean, that's how we are by nature. We're always usually looking for the easiest route to get where we're going. I'm
Right?
thinking like with let's say you have a fence and the fence has an opening, and then the fence continues. We're not going to go over the fence. We're going to go through the opening, right? It seems like it's the natural way, whatever's easiest. But what I think happens is when people take those shortcuts, whatever that may be, which there's a lot of different ones, I think you end up farther back, farther away from what you were actually trying to get to. So I don't know.
Well,
That's what's been kind of going through my head today.
well, I think it's important to address this idea about because we just saw with low carb carnivore. I thought you were going to say shortcuts are the off ramp on the freeway to success. Well, I think
Hmm.
I think that um, I think that we sometimes forget that this is a lifelong journey. There are no times where you can set back on your laurels. You can change lanes and move slower.
Mm-hmm.
You can you can get on a different route. Let's say because you are a father now with young children, the route you are on is completely different than the one you were on when you were single.
Yeah, definitely.
That doesn't mean that you're not going to get to this goal that you might have set,
Mm-hmm.
but you take responsibility and you understand I'm on a different route now and I have different expectations or different things that are happening and you accept that. But I think when we use the connotation of shortcut, like you were talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we say shortcut in the vernacular, we're saying I'm going to get something for nothing,
Yeah,
or I'm going to get more for less.
yeah. I mean, if we're referring to like, let's just say specifically more like weight loss, right?
Right?
Obviously, you can have weight loss on carnivore diet and lots of diets. That's what most of them are promoting because that's what most people generally are looking for with a diet. And I'm just thinking, there's like, let's just say medicine or pills out there. Like one of them I remember quite a few years ago, people were taking, and it would essentially wouldn't allow your body to take in any of the fat,
Yeah.
and it would just go right through you. And so,
Yep.
I mean, it might have helped you lose some weight, and you ended up having to pay for that. And it worked for maybe a week. And then I'm sure you got sick of you know, the things that come with
Consequences.
that medicine.
Right.
And I'm sure it didn't work. So you end up spending more money or more time or more of your whatever, motivation you do have, and it ends up failing you. So,
Which comes back to that I hope it comes back to the construct that we're making there is I like to look at things in mathematical equation format, and the equation has to balance, right? And so the energy in and energy out and all the ideas and constructs of balance. And if we have the opportunity to recognize we're grasping at a straw for a shortcut, like taking a medication, or I have a number of friends right now who are, I'm trying to be delicate here and I apologize. I don't want to offend anybody, but sometimes you got to say something
mm-hmm.
and then work around it to make sure you have better understanding.
Yep.
I have some friends who are severely limited in what they do in their life, and both a mother and a daughter are in the hospital now.
Okay.
Who had gastric bypass surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying gastric bypass surgery is wrong or evil or anything like that, but what I am saying is when you take that choice, you've chosen a lifelong route fraught with pitfalls and potential surgeries and other issues, right?
Yep.
Just like a guy may say, hey, I want to get bigger so I can be on the football team, so I'm taking courses of steroids.
Mm-hmm.
They get on the football team, they do all this stuff, and then 8 years later, or 10 years, they need hip replacements, and they're only 35 years old, right?
Yep.
There are, in my opinion, unavoidable costs for choices.
So you mentioned what did you say, gastric bypass? Is that what you said?
Right.
Would you consider it a shortcut, or do you consider it just another, it's a helpful, I mean, obviously I think it is helpful. It can be.
I consider it a tool
Okay.
that comes with specific consequences. When you say yes to this,
mm-hmm.
you're saying no to that, i.e., I'm going, and the doctors tell you, if you read about it, hey, your stomach may re-enlarge a bit.
Yep.
You may not be able to absorb the nutrients you need to in your duodenum. You may have other scarring issues, right? You may become malnourished due to absorption issues in your intestinal tract. So it isn't that it's wrong or a bad choice,
Right.
but you have to go with the eyes wide open. So I had surgery. You might have heard I had surgery on my right side of my neck. So they took two of the scalene muscles out of the side of my neck.
Okay.
And they cut them off my cervical spine. They cut them off my first rib, and they threw them away. So they threw away part of the muscle in my neck, and they deadened the nerves in my chest on my right side.
Mm-hmm.
Because I lost my ability to pump blood and have a feeling in my right arm. All right. Very risky surgery. Mm-hmm. Very easy. Could have died on the table. And I am suspect because I don't have muscles protecting my carotid artery on this side. Right.
Oh, okay.
And
so was that from the military thing, or was that something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they took care of that. Hindsight being 2020, knowing that I could have done carnivore and some other things, and I've heard a lot about hanging exercises can remodel the acromion in the shoulder.
Okay.
Instead of getting your acromion shaved, and so with new knowledge comes understanding I would not have done the surgery. But I operated under the conditions of what I knew at the time to give me the best outcomes.
You didn't know, right? You didn't know yet.
And the science hadn't proved it, right? So I think gastric bypass, a gastric sleeve, all those things are an option, but we need to realize that some options don't come with redos.
Yeah.
Like there's a young lady right now who's suing the Nebraska Medical Society. I don't know if you saw this, because when she was 14 years old or 16 years old, she had body dysmorphic issues, and she decided she wanted to be a boy.
Right.
And they did with a 1 hour consultation, they decided to do gender reassignment. She had a radical mastectomy at 16. And she was like, how in the Sam Hill did adult doctors allow this to happen? And she's suing the doctors, right?
How old is she now? Do you know?
I didn't read into it, but adult age, right?
Okay.
It's all over the news thing. But here's the point. The point is, if you're an adult making a decision, you need to make sure you look at all the information you can. And when you do that and you find out later, gee, I should have had a V8 or not have done this or whatever it is, right? But it's not about casting dispersions about is it an effective tool. Do the best you can while you're at it. Do your due diligence and accept the consequences.
Mm-hmm. One point I wanted to make with the gastric bypass is I think it's a great tool that we can do that these days.
Right.
I guess obviously I think this stuff is discussed plenty ahead of those type of surgeries, but what I find interesting is although the weight loss is there, and it usually is, the mindset and the habits don't always follow. And that's something that regardless of if you're doing gastric bypass, or if you're doing carnivore, or if you're doing, calorie tracking, each person has to deal with that, and they have to learn that. It doesn't just come with the surgery. You don't get your mindset changed or your habits. So it's very important.
I think you're spot on there with that. I think many physicians try to tell them that, right? That people are constantly make sure everybody gets that low carbon carnivore is Chuck. That doctors tell people, hey, this is just a portion of what we're trying to accomplish here. Yeah. And so just in case, I think I mentioned I went to beauty college in a recent thing. All right, I went to beauty school. Yeah. And
for what?
I'll go do
what is that?
What?
What is that? Beauty? You said beauty school?
Yeah, beauty school, like to be a cosmetologist.
Oh, okay.
To do hair and all that.
Okay.
And then I decided to quit, and then I almost became a beauty school dropout, but ended up just being a makeup artist, right?
Okay.
And the thing I noticed was people would come to me and say, hey, I want a new look, right? I want you to redo my normal thing, whether it's hair or makeup. Well, I would do something and it would look wonderful. No, it was not ugly, you know what I mean? But the person wasn't used to seeing it. And when they weren't used to seeing it, they wore it with a bad attitude, right? I think that's how we are a lot of people. A lot of times with people is because the thing may look just like a dress or a shirt. Like, I know this never happened to you, but if your significant other says, how does this look? And you really look at him and say, it looks fine. They go, no, it doesn't. I look ugly. It doesn't look good. I don't like it. No, why did you ask me?
Right.
Right.
They already have an opinion.
Right. And they're not willing to accept another person's opinion. Well, the same thing, though, can't we extrapolate that same phenomenon when we're talking about physical well-being and diet and exercise?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, and that's what Maribel is saying here about someone has a weight loss surgery, they lose a lot, it saved his life, but didn't change his mindset, right? And there was one lady I saw. She lost a lot of weight, and she had to because she lost it real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And she had I think the lap band on the gut.
Okay.
She had lots of excessive skin, no autophagy, no time for it to. And she hated the way she looked with the skin. She said, "I'm going to re-eat and get fat again because I felt much better when I was fat."
Really?
Well, it's that mental image, you
Right.
know.
That's crazy. They want to go back to
Right.
that.
Good night, B-Dog. Thanks for coming in, brother. So Chuck says, thought of a quote that goes along the whole road for you. Every journey has its end, and don't rush.
It's true.
Well, at least for our physical bodies, there is.
Yes.
And I think that I've often told people, there's this phenomenon of when you were in high school, you had certain ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the 5-year high school reunion, everybody's just kind of comparing some silly stuff. At 10 years, they're comparing pictures of their kids. At 20 years, the kids are off and they're bragging on their kids. At 25, they're showing pictures of grandkids. In 30 years, they're talking about all that stuff. But by the time you get to your 50th reunion, you're like, dude, you made it. You might have hated that person in high school, right? But it took you 30, 40 years to realize, one, that person never thought about you, right? Oftentimes we get caught in the trap. I did here recently. It's not what I think. It's not what you think, but it's what I think you think that drives my train, right?
Yep. I think I remember you saying that in one of your videos.
Yeah. So exactly. So then what happens is by the time you get 40 years down the primrose path, you're like, well, you were a pretty good guy. I never really had any, or gal, I never had a problem with you. And how you doing? And oh, I know we had some petty differences, but my gosh, you survived life. We survived life.
Yep. I think it's part of it's a lack of, for some people, I think it's communication, right? If you never actually talk to that person, you have that same assumption for years, right?
Right. I heard, and Becky, that's a great thing. You lose weight and people either think you have cancer or they wonder what you did or did you cheat? And yeah, you get a lot of attention you weren't expecting. You want to grow real fast? Yep. What were you thinking? I try to tell people all the time, high school is the best years of your life. Don't rush away from it.
That's pretty hard to believe when you're in high school, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember always wanting to be done with it.
Yeah. I know. You gotta get that surgery, Susan. My wife told me a story. It went like this. I'll try to encapsulate it quickly but succinctly, and it went like this. This old man was talking to some people about life, and he said, when you're in your 20s and 30s, imagine you're at a football stadium like maybe Packer Stadium or something like that, right? And you're clamoring to be in those seats down by the field where all the action is. And as you get older, you keep moving back in the seats. And as you move back in the seats, you're not clamoring so much for the action on the field. You're like talking to the people next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually when you get to be 80, you're at the very top and you're just happy to be at the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Still there.
And so I thought about that as a mental picture. I thought, I wonder if we could take that and make it kind of like a inverted cone. All the people in the youth are down here in a great big circle around the playing field. And as you get older and you move up in the stands, you get way up and you look down and you can't even see the players. You're just glad to be at the game. The things you held important on the field have just evaporated.
Yeah. Another kind of with that though, your view of the game changes, right? As you get farther up or farther away.
Yeah.
You have different perspective. As we know, we are always changing constantly.
Yeah. I remember back when I was in office, I got to go to all these Husker games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had what some people might consider good seats, 42-yard line, 4th row.
Is that a good spot? I've never been to a
Well,
game, so I don't know.
if you're tall like me,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But if you're not, you can barely see over the visiting team.
Okay, so you're competing with the people on the
You,
ground
yeah,
almost.
you're too close.
Oh, okay.
You know, the good seats were up a little higher where you could look and watch the play, you know.
Right.
But people will tend to think I got to be close to the action, and then you realize all the money people,
Mm-hmm.
they're up there in the boxes, air conditioned, private bathrooms,
Right. They probably got the
catered
game on the
food.
screen too next to them.
Yes,
I've
watching
always
the
heard that
replay.
with like UFC fights because I want to go to one eventually. I've heard a lot
Yeah,
of people that go to them. They say you're going to have your best view at home, right? And I think that's with most sports on TV.
right.
But you get a different experience when you go there and you watch. You may not be able to see it as good as if you're sitting at home, but it's a whole different experience.
Well, I think that you hit the proverbial head on that nail, and that is you really need to know what it is you're after.
Right.
Like being in carnivore, right? Are you after health? Are you after a bikini body? Or are
Mm-hmm.
what is your motivation? Um,
Yeah.
if you're after health, why you look at a scale, right? If you're
It's
after
true.
a better body, why are you on a scale?
Hmm.
Today is day 61 for me. Day
Okay.
61?
61.
Day 61, day 60. Let me make sure. It could be day 60. The hours are starting to run into each other here. So look at. Yeah, so today is day 61. I was right. So I did my obligatory measurements. I'm down an inch here, a half inch there.
Right.
I'm down to 2. My scale hates me. It tells me all sorts of numbers. I step on it a couple of times just to make sure I can kind of get a wedge number.
Yeah.
And it says I'm down to about 278, right? So
Okay.
that puts me down to better part of 25 pounds
Nice.
in 2 months or in 60 days, right?
Yeah.
But the important part is the belt I like to wear in my work pants,
Yeah.
it's on the last hole, and it might not hold up the pants.
That's good. That's good. That's one of your NSVs, right?
Right. So what do I care what the scales indicate? Because
Right.
as you know, muscles revolumize. I was talking to someone who does their they do like a total body scan. Their scale gives them bone density and all that. Hey, if you're a 60-year-old lady and you're gaining bone density, what do you care what the number on the scale is?
Right.
If your pants are falling off, if you have to go buy new skivvies, if one of the it was Robert Bubba Baker was talking about his hat is smaller. He had to make his hat get smaller.
Really? Yeah, I didn't hear that one. Was that in
Yeah.
today's video?
No, that was maybe a week or so
Oh,
ago. I
okay.
mean, so the idea being is that those NSVs really have to be somewhere where we live. The scale is only an indice of mass. It has no real ability to tell you. Like you carry a lot of lean body mass. I take it there, Woodster.
I would assume somewhat.
Yeah.
I've never actually tested it.
Well, I think you do just by looking at the shape of your shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I carry a lot of like question is what is a lot of lean body mass, right?
Right.
If you're average American male and you're 180 pounds, right? 160 pounds, well, see, 180, 20% would be 36. 36 from 180, round up to 40. You'd be 140 pounds of lean body mass with 20% body fat. All right. So I carry 200 pounds of lean body mass.
So now, what all is included in lean body mass? Do you know? Off the top
Well,
of your
that
head?
would be bone. That would be bone and muscle.
And organs or not?
Well,
Is that
I
counted?
think an organs would be counted. So in other words, you've
Okay.
got fat and pretty much everything else.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if you have the ability, I could be corrected. If you have an ability like an in-body test, or you could do you're doing the electronic pulse.
Oh,
It can give
yeah.
you a body fat.
With the little hand thing you put out. One of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. Or the ones on the feet. I don't think they're highly accurate, but if you can do something like that, and so then you can say lean mass, fat-free mass. I can go to my military hospital and they can measure all of it. They can even make me do, but they couldn't let me do the breathing one where they could really get my caloric load, my basal metabolic rate.
They do a breathing device.
Yeah. So what they do, you basically put you in a pod and they put a mouthpiece on you and it measures what you're exhaling and it will tell you down to a calorie what your resting basal metabolic rate is.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, my resting basal metabolic rate, even being out of shape and 316 pounds, was 2,800 calories a day.
That's pretty good. I imagine mine's got to be somewhere similar to yours, right?
Yeah,
we're about the same size.
Yeah, and you're younger and you have more fat-free mass. I'm going to assume. So the idea being is that our bodies are different from the average one. So when you start getting into the questions about what is meaningful weight loss, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all to dwell on it.
Yeah,
we're so different.
I've got a challenge for you, Scott.
What's that?
Let's do I was thinking November would be best, but how about a no scale November?
I'm all about it.
So we just throw the scale out for a month. What do you think?
Absolutely.
You want to do November or you want to do October since it's coming up next? I just figured with the ends, November and no scale, whatever.
Well,
I don't care which one.
Why not just wait till the end of November before we weigh it all?
So do 2 months? You want to do 2 months?
Yeah.
From now until the end of November?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to have my wife hide the scale.
Yeah, just the idea being is we'll just have to find a way to say we're not going to measure that way. What's that?
We'll take it out of our view, right?
Yeah, just say, hey, I don't need it.
Okay. Maybe we can get some more people on board with us.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Okay, let's say Kayla. How you doing, Kayla W? Woods have generally large muscle groups. Okay, Kayla, that must be a wood.
That's my sister-in-law.
That's okay.
She's part of the family.
I'm gonna let that go. That's a good comment. Just popped over to the stream to hit the like and say hi. Oh, thank you, Natalie. You're awesome. Awesome. I think that in genetics plays a huge role. At least you couldn't do it a daily weight. Yeah, well, I think Lisa, and I'm sure Brent would chime in here in a minute. Is in our journey we will require different things along the way. Like if I go on a hike and it's not flat, I'm taking a walking stick with me because I'm not going to trust. I can go up pretty well. Mm-hmm. Going down is where I have more questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my walking stick, right?
Yep.
When I get confident that I can walk without potentially falling down and busting my crown, then I'll drop the walking stick. So Lisa, when you get to a point where you say, you know what, I'm tired, or the feedback isn't worth the anxiety, because there's a lot of anxiety tied to a scale, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Especially, I've wanted to make a video on this, but just to show people, and most people know this, but water, right? I drink about a gallon of water every day, and that's like 8 pounds or so, 8.5. I mean, that's just one part of your weight that's fluctuating. Obviously, there's other things that make that change as well. Your stress, your sleep, going to the bathroom, all those things are a factor. And so you can literally have that much fluctuation in one day.
I challenge each person on here to go to their Google-inator and Google how much you sweat at night.
I am not familiar on that. Is it quite a bit?
I'm going to go do it right now.
Okay.
Average volume of sweat per night.
If anybody else wants to join us on the no scale, I'd like to call it no scale until end of November. Does that sound right, Scott?
Sure.
We're in September, so it's like 2.5 months. Is that what you want to do?
Sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get all the way through Thanksgiving, right?
Okay.
And that last weekend, you can whatever, or the 1st of December, we'll let ourselves have a moment of sheer terror.
Yeah, that'll be a while.
So I just looked up. This was called the Washington City paper, the first one.
Mhm.
Total body loss on average healthy young males is 25 milliliters per hour, or 200 milliliters per 8 hours of sleep. All right?
200 per 8 hours?
Right. That was just one reference. Now I'm going to go to medicine.net. That's a sweat per day. That's not going to get it. The sweat sweating while at night, another extra. Okay. It says between 500 and 700 millimeters, or 16 to 24 ounces.
Holy cow.
That's why Europeans turn down their mattresses, their bedding, and let it air out and dry. If you make your bed immediately, there was an article just last week that said one of the worst things doctors say you could do is wear your socks to bed.
Wow.
It's worse than a toilet bowl.
So 16 to 24 ounces? Is that what the last one said?
Yeah.
I wonder what is that in pounds? Do you know that would come to?
Well, 16 ounces, 24 ounces would be about, what is that, a pint? Or a quart? 164, so probably like a pint.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, good night, Chuck. Okay, question here. Thanksgiving. What do you think you will do about eating dinner with the family? Eat ketovore, meat, veg, keto dessert, or eat only turkey or steak? I'll probably eat with my family, and I'll have a little bit of each of the things that are the least damaging. Like I'll probably have some green beans. I might have some sweet potato. I'll eat lots of meat, but I won't do the dinner roll. I won't do pecan pie, but I would do a bite of maybe pumpkin pie, but I'll probably just eat the filling, not the crust.
I'm not sure yet, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to make that decision when I get a little closer, because that's kind of what threw me off a little bit last year.
Is it?
You just have a little bit of this, and then I'll try that too, and pretty soon you're back down the road, going back to where you were. But our mindset can change over time. But I honestly don't know yet if I'll stay off or go off. That's just me.
Well, I think that if we go into it with our families planning it, right?
Yeah.
There really can be a meeting of the mind, so to speak, right?
I can see that, but I also, most of the time, from my experience, they're pretty willing to say, "Oh, you'll be fine." Just on the holidays, right? I mean, is your family more encouraging, I guess?
Well, we are empty nesters, so.
Well, I mean, like, let's say on the holidays. I guess you weren't doing this last year, were you, on the holidays?
I wasn't doing carnivore, but I have for the last 4 years really been in a dirty keto state, with periods of absolute forgetfulness and getting 2 chocolate shakes a day. But I would say that in general, when I hit the holidays, when I get the most disciplined, because I really have grown to detest food comas. I don't like food comas. And so
eat way too much, and then you feel tired and feel like nothing. Yeah.
So
sounds like carbs.
Too many carbs, or even just too many. I mean, look, if you eat 3,000 calories of meat and fat, you're still going to have to deal with 3,000 calories of meat and fat.
True, but you will feel better than if you're eating 3,000 calories of cake. promise you that.
Yes.
Well, 3,000 calories of meat is a lot too.
Yeah. But I just say it was lots of fat and stuff like that. So I guess in the long run, the idea being there is I'll get through the holidays. I'll probably be more of a dirty keto a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, the long pole in that proverbial tent will be, I know what I need to do to feel well, to feel better, and I'll get onto that quicker than otherwise, and I won't beat myself up. That's what I was saying before earlier tonight in JT channel. Is he said, give me an important thing, and I say, we've got to show grace to people, and we need to show grace to ourselves, because this is a long, long journey, and if we take care of the nits and the gnats, the boulders will take care of themselves. I think all too often we get so focused on these big rocks that we forget that if we cleared the path, we could just let the rock roll away, right? It's our day-to-day. What are you doing for breakfast? What are you doing to get your sleep? What are you doing for your hydration? How are you constructing the calories you're taking? Are you getting your calories from on the scale? You get them from the most or from the best sources, like good eggs and good beef and good chicken, right?
Yep.
Or you get them from hot dogs and fast food and seed oils. If we take care of the little things every day, brush your teeth, make your bed, hang up your clothes, fold them out of the dryer, iron them out of the dryer, you will find you have more time left in your day because you're not running around on Sunday looking for a shirt you can wear. At work, you're not doing the sniff test. Your T-shirts are clean. Your shoes are prepared. But we allow ourselves to get distracted by soap opera things and then run around like a chicken with our head cut off at the last moment trying to get things done. Yep. If we left 15 minutes, if you need to be at work at 9 o'clock, be at work at 8:45. Plan for the time you need, and you'll be much less hectic. Your life will be much less stressful.
Yep. Some people don't do that though, Scott.
No, of course not.
They just keep playing the race game, right? Where you're just always racing everywhere and you're never planning anything. You're never setting anything up. You're never have any goals, nothing like that.
I've been there, right? I've been there very much, but the I would hope the goal of this whole revamping of who we are through this dietary lifestyle incorporates some more things. You know, Dr. Good night. Why am I going to? I'll get his name. Dr. Peterson, Jordan Peterson. He has the books, the 12 Rules of Life for Young Men or whatever.
Oh, the 12 Laws of Life or something like that.
Yeah. You know, there've been all sorts of these things, but it starts with the basic things. Start with your circle that you can, expand that circle as it becomes more available to you through repetition, right?
Yep.
And I think that the idea of the idea that we will be at the pinnacle when we start something is part of the falsity that the media has perpetrated on our country for the last 60 years, right? When my
say that last part again.
We've been sold a false narrative that a 21-year-old can start where the 80-year-old left off.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yep.
When my grandparents on my dad's side came over on a boat. One came from Slovakia, another one came from Wales. My father was first generation. They didn't own a home. They rented a home for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
They finally saved and scrimped and good fortune. They got a little 2-bedroom home out in the woods in Pennsylvania. Well, hey there, Mike Shaw. Good to see you. So what happened was, um, when they pass, and they, of course, everybody passes. They had a nice home. They had a nice life, but the thing is that they didn't have it all. And then my father had some things, and then I've acquired. But my boys feel that they should start. I got one son who says, "Dad, I just want to do what you do. I just want to be retired."
Mm-hmm.
You're 20. You're 26 years old. Where do you get this idea? Or when I was first in the military, I was not allowed to get a loan to buy a car. The bank wouldn't loan me the money. The military said I couldn't own a car on base because I lived in a dorm and I walked across the street because I knew that too many young people in my situation were getting into debt over their heads.
Right.
Now I'm 18. I got a job at McDonald's and I want a car payment for a $35,000 car. And they're going to give me the loan?
Yep. They're willing to. I was heard that on I wonder where that was. It was either someone's YouTube video or like a comedian was talking about people go and they try to get a loan and they're adults, but based on, let's say their credit or their history, they couldn't get it. But as soon as you turn 18, you're ready to go to college, $80,000. There you go. Right.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah. Let's set them up real well.
Right. So I think that that same mentality gets transferred over to physical conditioning. I want to be able to sprint. I want to be able to bench press 300. I want to have this bikini body or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, but here in Reelsville, people don't look like that. You shouldn't expect that from other people. I feel bad for young people who have this ideal that they have to look a certain way, they have to have a certain physical attribute, and they have to share it so many times to have value. And I said, when you get done with this little social experiment, you're going to find out that and they won't be alone, but they have put all their future into a false sense of value.
Yep. We are lacking on our goals with our younger generation, I think, as far as where they want to be and how they want to be similar to, certain influencers, I think.
Well,
it'd be very dangerous.
And I think that people in my age group and a little bit older are to blame. I'll give an example. When I was first starting out in politics, and I was, when you first start out in a whole political thing, you start at the bottom and you do a lot of grunt work, right?
Okay.
And I was doing all these parades, and I was doing all the county fairs and setting things up and doing stuff and looking for volunteers and burning the candle from both ends. And I went to a lady and I said to her, "Hey, I need your help. I need some workers to facilitate this process." And she said, "I paid my dues. I'm not going to do it." And I looked at her and I said, "You paid your dues, I get it, but you didn't raise anybody up behind you." See, she was about 64 years old, and I was about 45 years old, right? There should have been a 50-year-old involved there who came up behind that they brought in. But what they did is they didn't want to deal with anybody in the 80s and 90s to bring them up. So they didn't do it. They did it. They kept doing it. They kept doing all the work. And then a gap came up, or maybe it was the 90s and 2000s. And so when I showed up in 2008 or 2006, there was a hole. And I didn't have people to do the work, to be mentors and to do the work. They didn't bring people up. It's like if you're in a business, if anybody's in a business, you have to have your succession planning done, right? One day you're not going to be at the job. One day you're going to want to do something different. You need to have a plan to get in and a plan to get out.
Yep.
And you need to bring people up behind you. You need to train your replacement at work. right?
Yep.
And people don't want to do that. So then all of a sudden there's a vacuum. Well, if I'm looking at kids who are 22 years old now, 24 years old, and I'm saying, why don't you have the understanding of, I mean, to me, it's a foreign concept that showing up to work on time is considered a skill set. That was an expectation in my day.
Yeah.
Right?
Things have definitely changed, haven't they?
So the point is, we can't just point the finger at the person at the low end of the learning spectrum.
Right.
Where were the teachers? Where are the role models? Where are the reinforcements?
Yeah. So on that point with I've always said this for a while. It's like people get mad for a while. It was always the millennials, right? And my thing I always said was, well, who raised them?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought that was a good point, but.
And that is a great point because you just said it in 15 words. It took me 15 minutes. But the idea is, well, it's human nature. Yeah. It's human nature to judge people as soon as you see them. It's human nature to pass off everything you can to other people. And it takes an act of will to go against your nature. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Hey, I'm seeing some amazing numbers here. People losing weight and the changes. These non-scale victories and scale victories are pretty flipping off. It's awesome.
I'll have to read through some of those. I think I'm missing a couple of them.
Yeah, Susan, you're talking about being slow. Like some people, like Natalie's up here was saying 6 kilograms, so that's about 20 pounds in 3 months. But again, your Y is an autoimmune, not a bikini, right? I think that, and I say bikini, I don't mean to be offensive. It could be Speedos for guys. I have no idea, but the idea being is that we all have different situations we're coming from, and I listen to some people say, "Well, I was on carnivore for 3 days and I was off my CPAP and I lost 63 pounds." I'm like, "Well, great, I'm happy for you, but that's not working so schmoothy booby for me."
What are your thoughts around I've noticed lately in the community, you get a lot of the phrase that I've fallen off or that I'm restarting. There's a couple people that have used it a lot lately.
Yeah.
But I kind of have to disagree with it just in general because, especially on the restarting part, it's not like you may have fallen off in your eyes, right? In your mind, but you're still going, right? But
well, I think what you're alluding to, and I'm pretty sure we run in the same circles.
Yes.
Is this idea of some people are depending on the revenue stream, so they are responding to the algorithm.
Yeah.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Maybe it is just that. I just hope it's not the true mindset, I guess.
Because I don't think it's a true mindset.
It's going to happen hundreds of times.
That's right.
It's pretty hard to be strict carnivore. I know from plenty of my own, you call them falling offs, right? Whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think you bring a very good point. If we were going to be honest, right, with ourselves, and that would be, what is the cost of a strict carnivore diet? What does that actually look like? That's a
lot of dedication. That's what it is.
Well, but specifically, if we give it some specificity, right?
Okay.
So let's look at Dr. Chafee. All right. Neurosurgeon.
Right.
Working 12-hour days and really aggressive in his approach to life.
Yep.
I would feel confident to say he probably makes no less than $300,000 a year.
Probably.
Okay. No matter what your tax bracket is, no matter what your other outlays are, you can probably afford $25 a pound steak every day.
Oh yeah.
If you are out there busting your hump to make $36,000 a year and you have a family to feed and bills to pay, you are not living off of prime rib or anything like that, right?
Probably
You know?
not.
So when we look at the total cost of ownership of a lifestyle, it's convenient to have sous vide, and it's convenient to have the bags and the time to do it.
Mhm.
It's convenient to have a big grill and it's ready to go, right?
Yeah.
But in a place called Rillsville, you're going to stop off at the local grab and go and get a burger and try to tell yourself you've done good by eating it without a bun.
All right.
So,
Yep.
I mean,
But do you think that's what keeps him so steady on it? Because from what I've watched in his videos, I can't recall a time where he said, occasionally I have fill in the blank. Whereas, Dr. Sean Baker, I've heard him say, occasionally I'll have, if I'm at a birthday, I have a piece of cake, or, that's kind of how he talks. But I've never heard Chafee talk like that.
well, different people come at it from different ways. And I think you're bringing up something without saying it is, we've got to measure by our own yardsticks what we can do.
Yeah.
Like I said, Dr. Chafee, I mean, he played rugby, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was a high level rugby player, and he went to medical school with that dome all banged up like that, right? He is not like the rest of us. There's nothing about him that is like the rest of us. Give me Sam Goodman, or someone who's a big fella who fights the battle of the bulge and fights the battle of excesses, right? Then maybe we can compare some notes.
Yeah.
I can't consider who was that champion swimmer, won all the gold medals a couple Olympics ago?
Michael Phelps?
Yeah. Michael Phelps. Yeah. Michael Phelps isn't like everybody else.
Yeah.
Why would you measure yourself against him?
That's true. I see what you're saying.
So
we
when I
compare
look
ourselves to him, to Dr. Chafee.
No, I don't think that's reasonable. Now I can look at Dr. Baker and I can make maybe some. He was a heavy guy. Yeah, he's a doctor, but he's a military guy. He's been through it. But you can see he transformed his body.
Oh yeah.
You can see his dedication. I watched him do box jumps in the early days. You know what I mean? So I think the idea is if you're a lady and you're 5'7" and your wrist is 7 inches around, right? Just the wrist, right? You're not going to weigh 118 pounds. I'm sorry. I'm 6'5" and I have huge shoulders and thick legs. I'm not going to weigh 186 pounds until I've been dead for about a month.
Yeah. When was the last time you weighed 186 pounds, Scott? I've got a rough idea of when mine was.
Freshman?
Freshman? Okay. Mine was probably between 6th and 7th grade. So
Yeah.
I think I was 220 freshman year.
Yeah, I was not that big. I was still pretty skinny my freshman year. So, but anyway, that's my point is, if you're a guitarist, you want to go up and measure your hacks against someone like Stevie Ray Vaughan? No.
Right.
Right?
They're in a different level.
Well, and different people, and we watching the comments. There are just so many people here. We all come at it from such a different place, but to get back to what you're talking about is about people who are saying, "Hey, I've fallen off. Hey, I've got a rededication." First and foremost, I hope so. That'd be just like if you're talking to a believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's a professed of faith, and they've fallen prey to their sin.
They're restarting, right? Yeah.
Well, restarting, but repentance, recommitment.
I guess
we use those words all the time, and
that's true. That is true.
So, I'm gonna read this comment. 140 pounds, that's the bonus, health benefit, healing, outweigh the weight loss. I've kept it off and haven't gone back. There you go.
Yeah, that's good. Susan's been doing this for a long time.
That's right. It is phenomenal. And I tell people, like, I wanted to make a show one time with us believers. I wanted us to talk about our miracles, right? And maybe miracles outside of the birth of our children. Okay. I've been trying to tell people that when we've seen a miracle and we revisit that miracle in our mind, that we should do that on a regular basis so that we personalize the power of God in our lives. So if you remember
I can think of.
Yeah, I can remember like Hurricane Katrina, right? Right after Katrina, my church went down there to the New Orleans area. I went down there. I was at the Cajun Dome. And there was a big call for Similac, a baby formula, right? And they needed it. And I'm a ham radio operator on the side, and so with that, my combat life-saving skills and big ugly guy can take care of things. That's why I kind of went down with my church. I took a couple nurses, a nurse practitioner down there as a security detail and doing other things, and my radio. So on the radio call was this call for Similac, right?
Yeah.
And no one could find it. Everybody wanted it. No one could find any. I had a trailer full of stuff, and I was delivering it to a Buddhist monastery in New Iberia, Louisiana. Okay.
A monastery?
So it was a Buddhist one.
Now explain what that is.
Like, pagodas and dong bong 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 and beads and the whole Buddhist thing. All right. It's a Buddhist temple down in far south Louisiana.
Right.
So we rolled up. And I was there with a truck and a trailer. Some other people showed up with trucks and trailers. And Mama San was there. And Mama San was like speaking in the native tongue to the guys. And all these little fellers, they went into our trucks. And they went into I had a U-Haul behind my truck. And they went through it. And they only took what they needed. So it's like scavenger. And out. Right?
Right.
And they left in my vehicle what they didn't want. They were in the truck next to me. They did the same thing. When they left out of the truck, what was in the middle of the truck? A pallet of Similac.
Wow.
And then I told Mama San had her guys move it into mine. And I took it to the Cajun Dome for those babies.
That's pretty cool.
That was a miracle.
Yeah.
And when I remember that miracle, right? I remember the power of God in my life. And I think all too often we forget those things. So like Susan talking about losing that weight, right? Got to remember what you got. Don't get too focused on where you got to go to because you've seen the power of God. And I think we would be well served to remember those miracles that we witnessed.
Yep. Yeah, I left a comment on Hoosier Carnivore's video today. He was just doing his 6-month update, I believe it was.
Yep, he did.
And I was just thinking as I was listening to it, imagine going back to before you started. And this is essentially what I said, but would you have ever, we've heard this before, but would you have ever thought that you would be where you are now? Those 6 months later with all the changes he's had and, the weight loss and all the health benefits. It's pretty crazy. And Susan's story is, Hoosier was only 6 months, but she's years into this. So
look at Sean at the Intentional Carnivore.
Yeah.
He lost his whole family in weight.
Yeah. I heard him say that the other day. Huh. That's a lot of weight. And he's done it very quickly.
Right. Which goes to show that different physiological conditions exist in each of us and we respond differently. I mean, I have literally read scientific studies and listened to some people in the community talk, you can lose a lot of weight being a fruitarian. You
Right.
can. It's not sustainable, right? And that's why I think we need to be careful in our terminologies when we start to say this extreme thing I did, like even if it's fasting, right? Let's say you do 72-hour fast every 3 days,
Okay.
right? You're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable? Is it healthy?
I guess with the back to the fruit thing, why wouldn't it be? Is it because of the nutrients and all of that? Or do you think it's, I mean, why do we think carnivore is sustainable, but the fruit thing wouldn't be? I guess that's kind of an interesting question.
Well, I suspect it's from what these doctors have said and what the experience has said is every bit of food we put in our mouth, even if it's bentonite clay, okay? Everything we put in our mouth falls in a spectrum.
Okay.
Some things are best, like carnivore soldier was saying, best practices,
Okay.
and some things are less than optimal. And the condition you're in, if you are absolutely starving, so in Africa back in the 60s, oh, the poor starving Africans, right? So they sent a bunch of concentrated protein products over there to the starving children. They ate the protein products and went blind almost immediately
Really?
because
protein
the
is too
body
much or what?
prioritized the body prioritized the metabolism of the protein, and in doing so took the retinol and whatever that the eyes were using, right? And they were able to recover most of their sight by giving them. That's when they realized you just can't give them all protein or all vitamin C or all vitamin A. If you look at protein profile, you have to have all your essential proteins, right? In ratios. You just can't eat 100 grams of leucine, right?
I see.
There's ratios in doing that because the body is used to it. So I think whole natural foods, as in the way they were presented to us, right? Eat the ruminant, eat the lamb, eat the beef, right? The egg is got a perfect amino acid profile, right?
Yep.
If you eat just the egg white, you're kind of messing with the formula.
Yeah, I've considered, a few times in these last month and a half where I would prefer to have more of the yolk than the whites.
Uh-huh.
So on some of the eggs, I'll just not put the whites in with the rest of it. But you were talking about something that I wanted to ask you. Do you know what the verse is in the Bible that talks about food? And I think it says something along the lines of all food is essentially, I guess you can eat it, but not all of it is the same. Does that sound familiar to you?
Not directly.
Let me see if I can find anything.
Okay, I do know that Jesus says it's not that what goes into you, but what comes out of you that defiles.
Okay.
But I'm sure that if we cherry pick verses, we can find some things.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, got ads here. Let me get out of this.
Okay, Kayla, thank you very much for coming in and joining us. I hope I didn't miss you. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. So there's, that one. Let's see.
So Natalie, on your fruit comment right there, I was just watching something today. A banana today doesn't look at all like a banana that used to be running around 150 years ago. An apple today, a regular red apple today, isn't like what we had before. When I grew up, Granny Smith apples and fresh apples, they were tart, son of guns. They weren't as big as a cat head, I think we've gotten out of the idea of what is a natural food. So there's challenge in all that, right? Oxalates, yeah, I've been reading about oxalates, and a lot of people don't realize, I guess, when we get foreign substances in our body, so I know everybody here knows this, but we're basically like a meat tube, like a worm, right? We bring food into our mouth. We know how it exits, and our bodies exist everything from between the lining of our gastrointestinal and airways and our skin, right? And our whole life is in our body. The outside world comes in and goes through, and there's lots of checks and balances for that, right? And that the idea is when we get stuff that gets across the epithelial lining of our intestines or through our lungs, right? Mainly through our intestines. If it's not good stuff, your body will actually wrap fat around it and take it and store it. So when you do a rapid fat loss, all of a sudden things that were seen as toxic by your body's getting overloaded by them because you're burning the fat that was utilized to buffer. So that's why many times in the rapid weight loss scenario, people get really, really ill. It's not so much because they're not eating, but it's that more like an oxalate dump or something like that. So I just thought I'd throw that a little bit out. What'd you find there, Wizard?
I'm not seeing the verse I was thinking, because I know I was just talking about this today with my coworker, but apparently I'm not seeing the one that we were talking about. So I'm wondering if we were misquoting that verse.
Yeah. Now, Natalie, just to go back to your omega-6, omega-3, that's because of all the soy that's fed. That's why heritage farming is really taken off, letting animals eat the natural grasses they're supposed to eat and not a lot of soy and a lot of that type of thing. But again, in full disclosure to what some of the doctors are saying is beef with a little too high omega-6 to omega-3 is going to be a lot better than a bowl of Cheerios.
That's true.
And we can do things to modify our to up our omega-3 profiles if we want to. There you go, Susan. There you go. That's why I knew I threw that 5'7" to 5'9". Some people can carry the weight better. I think Woodster and I carry weight better than maybe someone who's only 5'8".
Yeah. Oh, we got Midlife Carnivore put up a verse there. Let me look that one up.
1 Corinthians 10:23, perhaps.
Let's check it. Okay. Yeah, it says, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. Maybe it's along those lines is what we were thinking of.
What about Romans 14:14?
Go back to that one.
Well, there you go, midlife. There you go. That's a good way, but particularly for you with that, with your histamine challenges. That's really good for you.
Okay, so Romans 14:14 says, I know and I am convinced in the Lord Jesus that nothing is unclean in itself. Still, it is unclean for someone who thinks it's unclean.
I think that gets back to almost when Jesus was asked, it's not what goes in, is what comes out.
Yeah.
Again, and we have a different covenant on things than they had in the Old Testament. But many times, while this discussion is paramount to our walk, I do find myself saying, I like today, and I was praying. You know how the Lord says He hears the prayers of repentant believers, right? And I don't hear a lot of repentance in corporate praying, right?
Okay.
I'm not saying people aren't repenting. That's not mine to say one way or another. But as I thought about it to myself when I was doing it, I was saying, we don't want to be repetitive in our requests, right? Like you don't want to be checking the box. You really want to be heartfelt and authentic and genuine, right? And I thought about it. I said, I'm always praying about the challenges of saying things. You know how the tongue can be such a terrible sword, right? If I keep praying for the same thing and I'm not seeing change, was my prayer authentic? Was it genuine? Was my repentance genuine? So
You're talking about what they were repenting for, or
yeah,
just
like if
things
I
in
want,
general?
like no, if I'm repentant for having a what I'm calling rapey or wit, but really what I'm doing is I'm being hurtful to people. If I
Right.
say things that are reactive and not responsive, I mean, we shouldn't be continually praying. I want to say that I shouldn't continue to be praying for the same, repenting for the same errors. You would think you grow up, you change, you mature, you're not doing the same things, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at the categories of sinful behavior, right, I've begun to pray that I will be shown before I do something to
Yeah.
see the pit, the snare, the trap, so that as a thought, I'm thinking of Paul and his epistles when he writes, "I know what to do, but I do it not." Right?
Yep.
Our, our evolution, our maturation as believers and as carnivores is, I don't want. Russ says this really well from Buckeye, right? Homesick Buckeye.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "I'm not doing a lot of change. I just know this. I just don't want that anymore. My need is bigger than my want. So the desire has been taken away from me for this."
He's talking about his eating.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think the same thing would apply to us if we invite the Lord into our hearts, right?
Yeah.
To sit there and say, "Lord, take away this need for from wherever it's born from different people's different reasons from whatever it's born from, take away this need to say things like this."
Yeah, I think he
Not
definitely can make you more aware of it, like you were saying before.
right.
But I mean,
Exactly.
we're gonna continue to be sinners regardless. But yeah, we definitely there's a conscious. Most of the time, there's a conscious yes or no. You're gonna just make a decision on it.
Well, and you what you just said, I've been meditating and thinking about that a lot today.
Okay.
Does our inherent nature of being a sinner can't well, I know the answer to this, but let me try to articulate this in an intelligent way.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that our inherent nature of being a sinner, right? Our the our conception in sin, right?
Yep.
That does not give us license to go whole hog into sinning. We
Correct.
can't sit there and say, "I'm always going to be a sinner." So, right?
Right. It's not doesn't give you the right
License.
to keep
Yeah.
on going and disregarding it. I think
Okay.
it's I mean, I think we're on the same page, but you have to, I think we do have to understand though that I've had this discussion with a different coworker lots of times because comes up all the time, but I don't think we'll ever on earth, I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we don't sin anymore.
Well,
Do you believe that or not?
absolutely. Because if you think about it, right, what sin means to miss the mark, right?
Right. And we know that we will always miss that mark on earth.
But when we think about missing that mark, right, it's of me
Yep.
thinking, okay, this is not doctrinal, okay? For me to be an individual, to be Scotty, right? That means I've declared and I am different than God, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I mean, just by that nature. So inherently, when I'm apart from God, I'm in a sinful state, no matter what I've done. I mean, to be honest, so this is just me just being open, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That conceived in sin stuck in my head to be always a sexual thing, and it has nothing to do with sex. that conceived. I mean, when God conceived me and I was individually apart from him, I have to be missing the mark. You cannot define me as any part of God. I'm from God. God made me, but I'm not a little God. I'm not a demigod.
Mm-hmm.
So in as much as I am even conceived of as an individual, is that first idea of sin. So if when I die and I no longer have this body, and I've declared and chosen the path of life, and I stand before God and I go through the bema seat and the judgment, everything's there, and I'm with God, that separation of me being here no longer exists.
Correct. Yep.
Right? I have to have that atonement, and I have to for my sins, which God was taken care of by Jesus on the cross, right? He took up that, he paid for that. So this idea of our original sin, our inherent sin, has, to me, very little to do with the fact that I choose to do things like focus on YouTube, focus on something other than God, right? That type of sin is a category that means I willfully chose to have inward eyes and not outward eyes and keep my eye on the cross. But the sin of my existence, of my being separated from God, is not that. So we can't let, in my mind, letting that original sin be how we answer I'm falling down again. We just need to sit there and say, Lord, help me so that I don't. Help me to repent and see the error of my way and that stronghold, particularly the strongholds I don't want to see, and remove it from my heart so that, what does it say in the Beatitude? Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, meaning that spirit, meaning that I have no sense of self. And that then we can have the indwelling of God in our heart, and through that lack of indwelling of ourselves, we have enough to give to God to let him be a part of it, because blessed when and the emphatic use of that word there is blessed are those who are meek, and those who are weak like that, is them and them alone will have the inheritance. So I think it's good for us to differentiate between that sin of my being and the sin of my actions.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. It's always that. We always had that conversation of it being there, because we do continuously fall.
Right.
And I guess it was just an interesting topic with my buddy. We talked about it, but.
Okay. Cool. And now we have a great conversation going on here about yo-yo dieting and going back and forth with previous diets and lifestyles that are unsustainable. And I think that is the long pole in this proverbial tent, is that what can you do for forever? Because it's not like we're going to it's not like we can go back to the standard American diet.
Yeah, definitely not. I've tried it.
That's good. So, hey, look, it's been 3 hours. It is 11:41. I think I'm going to pull the plug and let Bozo get some sleep.
I agree. Sounds good.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on tonight and livening it up and engaging in conversation and showing us that beautiful background there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Utah, Wyoming has some beautiful landscape.
Yep, this one's hidden up in the mountains.
Yeah, and that water looks. I bet in the wintertime it gets pretty windy up there, pretty cold.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Yeah, there's actually a second lake right there above my finger, right there.
Oh, okay.
So
I can almost make out the line of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty cool place.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody in the chat room talking and carrying on conversation that was important to you while we carried on this thing here. I think that's one of the wonderful dynamics here in in doing these live type things.
Mhm.
The canned long form videos are important, but in this way, when everybody is engaging with one another, it's pretty awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a longer stream for you, wasn't it?
Well, I did a 4-hour one last night with Midnight
Oh, really?
Midnight Carnival. Oh yeah,
Okay.
we got into it. It was good.
Alrighty. Yeah.
All right.
Get to bed.
All right, y'all take care.
Bedtime, so.
Yeah, mine too. So we'll try to catch you all tomorrow. I don't want to step on anybody's. If anybody's doing a live and it's like 8:30, I'm not going to come on. If it's 9, we'll see, and we'll try to see about coming on. And tomorrow night is what night of the week? Tomorrow night
Tuesday.
is Tuesday. Yeah, so that should.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night should be good. So we'll see what happens. Y'all take care. God bless. And again, thank you very much for joining up. Y'all take care. And have a good night. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.